Welcome to episode 4 of the Skyns podcast. How's it going?
We're good. We're good.
I am Kyle Ingram, aka Kingram, aka I am Kingram, aka Mr. Voodoo Man, aka. Do I have any more? Is that it? Black Zeus. Okay, there we go. That's another one. And I'm here with
Lanamra Nikita.
Yes.
Lanamra on social media.
And Baby Skyns.
And Baby Skyns.
Yes. I don't know if you guys can see her belly today,
no,
but
they can't.
it is growing. I felt him kicking the other day. I was like, that's my boy. That's my boy. But hey, so today we have our first guest. I know I'm not counting Ryan because Ryan was a guest, but that's also our producer. Everybody loves Ryan. But we have our first official guest.
Yeah.
We have Calvin and Love.
Hi, how y'all doing?
How y'all doing, man?
Welcome.
AKA Critical.
Yeah, see, I didn't know.
Yeah,
here we go.
Introduce yourselves, please.
I blame you for this.
A lot of AKAs.
He got more AKAs than I do.
That was it. I was done at 3. I'm like, damn, that's it.
That's all I got.
That's all I got for
you. Keep shortening your joint. AKA Critical, AKA Critter, AKA Crit,
Cal.
AKA Cal.
Oh yeah,
His joint just
like
keep getting
6.
shorter. Yeah. So, I want to start by, just talking about how me and you met and connected. If you don't know, me and my girlfriend, we're a music group. We Skyns is the name of our group. I've been producing for a long time for my sister, myself, my hip hop group, some various artists out here. But I'm not a producer like you.
Oh man,
not like this guy.
You're a producer.
Hey, you're very creative.
Stop.
Man.
Yeah.
Very creative.
I heard you some of y'all music. Yes.
I try to do what I can, but if you don't know, Calvin, aka Critical, is Grammy nominated winner.
Yeah, nominated.
You didn't win yet?
We didn't get the win.
No, you
yet,
gonna
man.
win though. So it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. Definitely nominated. He's produced for some of your favorite artists. His musical ability is top tier. I mean, so I'm glad to have him on the podcast. I think the first time we actually met in person, we were
at a restaurant.
Talking about.
I was about to work with your sister.
Yeah, we were working with my sister Bianca.
Shout out to Bianca.
Yeah,
Yes,
shout out to Bianca. Who's Bianca? She's about to do her own podcast soon.
Yes.
She's been busy being a new mom though.
Yes.
All these mommies out here.
Vibes.
All this new mom energy.
Definitely new mom vibes.
Yeah, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about music before we get into the mom energy and the relationships.
Till we get to the ladies.
The nurturers at the table.
So tell me how you got into music. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I grew up in church. Most musicians start off in church.
Right.
Start off in church, man. I've been playing in church since about 12 years old. And I had a little Casio. I used to mimic a bunch of beats on the radio, just playing it. Keep just playing different beats, learning how to play them. Then, about the time I got to high school, it was like everybody saying, yo, you should make a beat. And then, made the little beats, went to school for audio engineering in New York. Shout out to IAR. Got a nice little degree in that. Learned how to make my music sound good. And then I started interning for a while at Mama's Boy Home Cooking Studios. That's where Music Soul Child used to work.
Right.
Shout out to Ivan Orthodox for the first intern. And then, I started working with Cardiac, and we just kept it moving, man.
Y'all start making up that fire, cooking up them bangers.
Sir. Yes, sir.
What's your favorite beat? This is a personal question. I don't know about who's watching it. What's your favorite beat you ever made?
Yo, right now,
placement you had.
It's not even a placement. My favorite beat is the one that I was making with Sanfa singing. It's the artist Sanfa.
Yeah.
Yeah, Drake used him.
Yeah, that Drake. I made that Drake plug.
Yeah, and I made the full beat. And I was working on the beat, and I'm like, yo, this beat is raw. And I posted it on my Instagram at one point. And after I was done the beat, I found out that Lil Wayne used the same sample, and it kind of sounded just like mine.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm like, yo, but mine was definitely better. And that's probably that's my favorite beat right there, man.
Yeah, how recent did you make that?
Probably I want to say about 4 months ago.
See, it's funny because artists, it's never their biggest hit. It's never the thing that that people would expect them to say. It's always something recent or something you're working on. Yeah, in all probability, your favorite beat's probably something you're working on right now.
Yeah, I mean,
this next one I'm coming up with is crazy.
Because you get tired of it. It be to the point where you got a folder of beats and you rarely even play the ones from 6 months ago.
Right?
You're playing the last couple you made, not even knowing, but that's the problem we have because we listen to it over and over. So once we get in the studio, we thinking like, yo, man, I'm tired of it. They never even heard it
Right.
yet. So, you know,
That's
that'd be
the
a
thing
problem.
people don't
So that's probably
understand
why that
about.
happens.
Yeah, they don't understand that about art and everything, right? Like, you know, whether it's a podcast or a video, you've seen that, you did that. It was like months before people usually get to hear it, especially with music. Cause like you might make that beat, you know, a year ago, send it out. Somebody picks it up, they put it on the album. It don't come out for 4 years.
All the time.
And everybody's like, yo, that beat's crazy. He's like, yeah, that joint 4 years old to me. Like
that one joint I just got with Nipsey Hussle and Rick Ross before he passed. That beat, me and Cardiac did that beat probably like 2013.
See, and that joint came out like what?
Last year.
Yeah,
Wow.
see,
Old.
When they hit me and told me, I'm like, I forgot the whole beat.
He's like, what beat?
I'm like, what beat? And then he played it. I'm like, oh
yeah,
okay.
oh yeah.
I remember this. I remember the day I made that beat. And Love Yours too. Like how we came up with the Love Yours with J. Cole. We was in my basement, working on a loop pack. You know how producers do
you make
loop
the loop
packs and
packs.
you sell them. So we sent it off to Ill Mind. Just he's shout out to Ill Mind, producer on Love Yours too. He just just to review the pack before we send it out and sell it. He's like, yo, dog, I did something with that one joint, and then he's like, yo, can I keep it? J. Cole said he liked it, and then he hit back, say, yo, he made a banger, and
he be closing his shows with that. Like
that's a blessing right there.
Yeah, that's one of his best songs in my opinion. You know, J. Cole always made real stuff, but that's one of his realest.
The most influential song I've ever heard. I think even going to a J. Cole concert one day, like he closed out with that song, and we just like stood back and saw everybody like have their phones out, and we were just in shock.
Square.
We were in Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
And he shut down Madison Square Garden with that song, and I'm just looking at Cal, and he doesn't have his phone out, and I'm like, do you realize like you just did something that transcended music?
Right.
Like you're a part of history. And he's like, I just want to be in the moment.
Right.
It was the dopest thing ever.
Does that feeling ever get old, or is it like every time, you know, you put out something and you see how it impacts other people?
No, that doesn't get old ever. Not to me, at least. It feels new every time. Like maybe I need more hits. So definitely.
He said, maybe I got to get used to this.
I know you had some questions because this is your first time. This is Nikita's first time. So just so you guys have an understanding where we come from, I met her in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
She played me out. I'm not gonna go through the whole story, but then later,
We always
So
get
he
played
says,
first.
"Right,
We always
I
get played
same.
first.
but then years later we reconnected, and we really started getting together. Like the year before, what was it 2018, 2019?
2018.
Yeah.
Late 2018.
And then
2019.
she's international. She's from Barbados, so she was back
Okay.
and forth between
Yes,
Barbados.
Yes.
And so 2019 she was traveling a lot, and it wasn't until like 2020 that we actually were together consistently all the time. I mean, we were in a relationship, but we weren't together all the time. And that's when we started making music and all that kind of stuff. But I say that because she was telling me like, oh, we went to one of my sister's shows, and she was singing, and I was listening to her sing. I'm like, oh, you could sing, and she was like, no, not like I couldn't be a lead singer.
They all say that.
And I was like, I think you
sing
can.
background vocals,
See,
sure.
that's what she was saying.
We're good at it.
And I was like, no, we go.
I'll
put
pull
you
in
out
that
in
harmony
front.
for you, but
I was like, no, we gonna do something. So that's how the Skyns music was born.
No.
But she's kind of a new artist in that sense because she wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
And I know like when I was telling her, who you were, I know she had some questions. So
Oh yeah, definitely.
I was really interested in your journey in the industry. Like, what has that been like for you?
A lot of anticipation. I had to learn from the beginning. Nothing's like stamped until the contract is done. So I had to learn that off rip.
Oh,
like,
so you mean when people post pictures saying we working, that's not
Yeah.
that's not money?
Yo, I think that stopped like in 2016, honestly, because I did it.
Right.
I did it.
We all did that though. I mean, because
Yeah.
when you're in the presence of like, well-known artists, and you want to say, and sometimes you actually are working, but
You are working.
Yeah, but does that work come to fruition? Does it come to
Yes. So
Yeah.
now you gotta be strategic how you do it. You
Right.
just you gotta say something else. You can say we working, but You can't be like, yo, wait for this new heat to come out because it could not come out.
Yeah.
So that right there, and then you do that, and then the song never comes out. So you just like, man. Now you start feeling that some type of way about that artist. Right. So you might want to just keep it to yourself. Like, yo, it was nice working with you. That happens a lot. Like,
so you've kind of had to master like the art of being discreet,
managing
disappointment and expectations.
And everybody's not gonna like what you like too. Had to realize that, like when you picking beats out for artists. I tend to do what I like and not what they like a lot of times. So if I don't like something I got, I won't send it, but they might like it. So you gotta work on that a lot and be prepared for letdowns. And a lot of times people don't open your email. So one thing you should do is definitely get that app to see if they open your email. I have that, and that came in handy because you can send an email. And you know who's not opening it. And when they open it, if they open it 10 times, that helps you out too, because that's when you really know it's coming. If that email keep opening.
Yeah, they keep opening, they keep checking it or listening to it. That means they're working on something. We working.
Yeah. You can post that.
Now you still can't even do it. Don't do it. Just wait until that contract is signed, that producer agreement is there. That's when you be like, all right, got this coming out.
Right.
Like we just got something coming out with Josh K and Fab.
Okay, nice.
And I made a mistake again because I posted like 3 weeks ago, but I know that one's coming out because they're very excited about it. We didn't get the paperwork yet, but shout out to Josh K and Fab and the family on the Def Jam, man. So.
Nice. You got...
but you basically started, like, what would be advice that you would give to up-and-comers in the industry or just trying to do what you've done?
Be humble. Be humble, definitely. Try to learn off of whoever you work with. Like, when you in a studio with somebody, if you collaborating with somebody, be humble, because if you too cocky and you don't have nothing, they're not going to want to bring you. And then also... you can't be a slickster either. Like, don't try to steal connects. People used to always tell me, yo, you in the studio with Dr. Dre, yo, you supposed to be playing. Like, nah, like, this is not my session. Like, and that's why I always was invited to a lot of studios, because I know how to move when I'm out there. Because some people, they be like, yo, play this, listen to this. It don't need to be time. So it's like, really, you got to carry yourself the right way, because these people are important. And it's a little you got to find the
energy. People, and I think that's something that it transcends just music, right? But music, entertainment in general is a industry of networks and connections. And if your energy is off, like, or people, if you don't have a good vibe, people don't want to bring you around. And and it's an industry where if you don't get brought around, that's really part of it is just being there, having people want you to be there, and then you never know when an opportunity for that to turn into work is.
Yes.
So you like, that's why being a good person is what I always say. Like, just be a decent human, right? Because you never know who's gonna be where. You never know who you're gonna bump into, or what that relationship might ever turn into, or who So.
And that's one thing about the music. Burnt bridges really go with the industry, entertainment. Period. Not just music, videos, and all that. Burnt bridges, you're gonna see that person again,
right?
All the time. And
small network.
And then another thing to always know is, like, yo, any day you could change. Like I love my resume right now because I have a lot of stuff I had that was out, but the next record that I have come out that could change my life crazy.
Right.
I still have that back there. Like, oh, he did this too, he did that, and that as well. So
yeah, you just gotta keep building.
Yeah, definitely. One record could change your life, definitely.
That's it's funny. I was thinking about that the other day. That's one of the things. This is one of the only industries, entertainment. Because I was actually thinking about our friend Desiree, because she's in LA. She's getting more and more acting gigs, and I was thinking, the right acting gig change your whole life. Yeah. And that's how it is with entertainment too. Whether you're a producer or artist, you get the right record, boom, out of here.
Yeah. So you gotta watch who you play, watch who you try to disregard. Like, yo, I don't want to be around, because that same person could blow the next day, and now because that's how it happens. As soon as you have something out, your phone is ringing. Everybody want to do that. And see, me, I'm the nice person, and she always tells me, like, yo, because I put my hand out to anybody,
Right.
And that's why I have so many connections and everybody. I don't have that many.
I can vouch for that with him. Like, you know, when I'm not even recall how you and Bianca connected because we were working on our album. And when I know she said, you know, she told me, she's like, yo, this guy Calvin hit me up. So I was like, Calvin who? She was like, Critical. I was like, oh.
I think it was Nina.
Yeah,
because we had finished.
Sorry, because
we interviewed Bianca,
right.
and then afterwards she was talking about her situation. I guess meeting Prince and stuff
right,
like
right.
that.
Yeah,
and then after we interviewed her,
so I was like, oh, she was like, because you know, a lot of people, especially when you know, and you probably understand when you're a young, attractive female at the time, she was single. There, you know, there was no Paul, so a lot of people just was DMing her on some fake stuff, like, you know, just trying to connect with her. So she would always screen everybody through me. One, I work in music and entertainment, and two, I'm her big brother, so she know I'm not, you know, I'll screen. But I was like, nah, he's legit. So we met, and you know, you would never know that his whole resume. I knew your resume because I just am in the industry, so I just know stuff. but she, you know, she just be working, she just be writing in her own bubble. So I was telling her, but his energy is so good. Like, he's such a decent dude. Like, every time I run into him, you know, he's the same dude all the time, no matter what's going on in your career. And that's not average. Everybody doesn't do that.
Yo, the industry is a lot of snakes, man. And that's why, man, it's crazy.
It is.
I don't want to say too much.
All right, but that's good.
Secrets.
But yeah, you can have a good heart, but it's not for the weak though.
Right.
Like, you can have a good heart, but probably 75% of the industry is not.
Here's a question. Yeah. When you first had, you know, your biggest success, right? How did you start figuring out who was really your friend and who was like fake? Because I feel like a lot of young artists, when they start having some success,
you over there giving that look like, you know.
You be like, say it, babe.
No, but really the answer is you don't know until you come back down.
Right.
Like, when you up and you have a lot coming out, everybody's there. Like, link.
Everybody's
let's do this,
your friend.
So it's hard
Everybody
to really see you. And the type of person I am, I have the same friends. I don't have a bunch of extras. So I didn't have to really worry about that so much. But once it stops, then you can see all the phone calls.
Right.
Like, they start shortening and all that. So, but when, like I said, I got the same friends. Like, all that's going to stay the same.
Right.
But all the extras, like the people that you're not really that cut tight with, that slows down. But with the, like I said, at producing, you're up and down all the time. It's not no straight, unless you're just super successful that you're just.
Yeah, but you know, it's funny. Even the super successful people have their ups and their lows. Like, you know, like
levels to it. They have their own.
Right, it's their own. Yeah, it's a different low. But
we like, damn, nah, you killing it. And they're like, man, nah, man, because I wanted that Taylor Swift.
Right. It's different, but you know, everybody has, so you know, there is
all relative.
Before we switch gears from the music, I gotta say first, RIP to DMX.
Yes.
That one hit.
Yes.
You know, it's funny because I never really thought about how influential he was to me as an artist until I started revisiting, and I was thinking about when I was playing his music. I was like, yo, this is one of the I'm about to age myself and everything. I bought his first album on a tape. I went in the Sam Goody in the mall and bought it.
Neither exists. Sam Goody. That's where you dated yourself. Talk about Sam Goody.
I went to Sam Goody in the mall.
Now I'm about to ask how old is you?
I was like, hold on.
I was a young boy. All right, I didn't buy it, but you know, my dad bought it for you. I was like, he bought it for me, and I bought the tape because I had a little tape player. And, you know, then I bought the next one on CD. I upgraded in that year. Right. And I remember thinking, like, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was like, yo, you can make this. You can say that. It was just different. The whole energy was different. That's when I first started thinking, like, I was looking at how Rough Riders was, and I was like, music can be a movement is what I learned with DMX. I just wanted to get, you know, your thoughts on.
See, nobody really knows this about me, but, like, I was raised in a church. Like, we had signs in our crib saying no rap video.
Right.
So I knew them. Like, when I first started getting into rap, it was like like Puff Daddy, Mace, and all that. So DMX was like, all my friends listen to him. Shout out to TT. I was just on the phone with him. He gets out of jail like tomorrow or today.
Oh, wow.
And when I spoke to him on the phone, I was like, man, dog, all I thought about is you, because back in the day, he was at the courts, we playing ball. He's got the boombox. DMX, like he thought all DMX fans think they're DMX. Back in the day.
This is so true. I can remember that back home in Barbados too, like walking around going,
they start dressing like him. The whole walk, the bop is DMX. So I'm not really into the court. I don't know about was you into DMX? Well, you was.
Well,
she had a whole DMX set.
Okay, hold on. It's true. Calvin would just. Okay, the day DMX died, I played every song I knew, and Calvin just looked at me like, who is this Christian little girl in my house? But the thing was, what I was explaining to Calvin is very few artists can make a song or music that transcends time. Mm-hmm. And I said, very few people have done it. DMX is one of them.
Yeah.
That stop, drive, you hear it. Basketball games, football games.
That's going to be around forever.
Forever. Yeah. Very few people can make music that transcends time. Mm-hmm. And, for DMX to be someone who has such a harsh upbringing and then for someone to have a relationship with God now and then to I don't want to call it backslide, but struggle with drugs, and things like that put him in a position to be dead now, unfortunately. Is so heartbreaking, but this man is a legacy. And I told him, I'm like, he's in a category like Kobe Bryant dying. Like that hurt differently. Yeah. And that's a hurt piece for us. I'm like, I put him in that category with Biggie and Pac. And people just put Biggie and Pac in two categories. Like nobody else can touch them. And I'm like, no,
that's definitely not true.
DMX is there with them.
He's right there.
That's one thing I do know. But what would you say?
No, the thing about X that was different was he was a full human on his records.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't. He was raw. He gave you. He would give you that. I'll rob you. I'll kill you. I'll steal from your mama. Like all that. But he'd also tell you about how he felt about that. How he felt about being abandoned. How he felt about his relationship with
his mom.
How he felt about his relationship with his mom, his drugs, his God. He would pray on every album. Like he was a full human.
Yeah.
Oh, and that is not regular, especially not at that time. Like people were caricatures.
Well, wasn't he? Was he homeless before he got signed?
Yeah,
homeless.
So he probably got signed. Well, I'm not sure. He got signed off his passion, right? Like they've seen something in him, and they probably told him like, "Just be you. Like we love you."
I'm always curious about how them first sessions go because like he was one of the first, might be the only rapper to ever have two albums debut at number one in the same year, same calendar year. Yeah. And the reason that was they just took the songs he recorded for the first album and put it on another album. Like he didn't do another session. Like he just took the first. He just took the B side, like they just put them out. Yeah, they were like just put them out, and so I mean
it was like shout out to Swiss Beats because. He didn't give up on X. I'm not even like I said, I don't know too much about DMX, but I know Swiss was always on him. The
people around X, everybody I know that knew him or had contact with him, they always say he was super authentic and he was a good person to be around. Now you all know about his struggles, but I think that's one of the things that I think we could learn from DMX is like it doesn't like if you don't take care of that, if you don't have that circle that's going to take care of you, it doesn't matter how much success you have. Like you got to. And we saw him trying to deal with this. I just think it was just too overbearing.
Yeah, I can imagine it being overbearing. When you fight in constant demons, like this man is fighting addiction. Lack of self-control in a sense. He has 15 children.
17.
17. Sorry, 17. I thought it was 15 this whole time. 17 children.
And then he adopted one too.
Yeah, so adopted. Maybe, what's her face? I don't remember her name, but
she's an actress.
The girl from Power. Something like that. Then abandonment from his mom. Like those are issues if you don't get down to the nitty gritty of it. Like and it's not even funny, but even being on Ayanla wasn't even like, it was just hitting like chipping away at it, but it wasn't getting to the root.
Could never do that in an hour.
You can't manage 40 something years back then with Ayanla in 2-3 days. This is an everlasting cycle of healing.
That's the thing that I look at, you know, and I'm not upset about, because I understand it, because it's like, but when you look at someone who was an addict, who was having problems with self-control, and you give him the success he had, it's amazing to me that he lasted as long as he did. Because that success that's destroyed a lot of other people.
So, he had to have good people in his corner. But you can't stop him from doing their guilty pleasure. So
I told Cal, I said, I know all of Yonkers right now is playing every song the way they did when Biggie died.
I feel like the world was doing it.
They were. And I told Cal, I said, I went to YouTube and I would hit one letter starting with the name of this song and it would pop up. And people from Brazil and the Philippines and the UK were like, we are grieving. And I'm like, this is global.
It was global,
global. That's
authenticity, man. I always say that authenticity is, you know, it resonates. Everyone, every human, whether, even though his struggles weren't universal. Like I never struggled like DMX did. Like that wasn't. But I understand that feeling. I can, and that truth can resonate with me.
And I'm glad that he got his flowers before he passed too, because that versus, shout out to Timberland, Swiss again, man, because that's like a blessing in disguise.
And Snoop did a great job of making sure he felt that love too.
I peeped that too. I'm like, Snoop really held him down, because you know, you don't know what people go through throughout their days, and you could tell DMX is like he was fighting, but Snoop was being Uncle Snoop there. So and that was love. It was all love in that verse. That was one of my favorite verses. And like I said, I wasn't even a DMX fan, but that verse is the love that they was giving each other. And from the past, like they gave him his flowers. A lot of people don't get their flowers before they die, like how they love him now, but after the verses, everybody was loving DMX.
I think he felt the love, and that is a good thing. Speaking of verses, though, since you brought it up, what's your favorite one now?
It would have to be the Snoop one. Okay. I was tuned in the most, but the most authentic ones were the Dream. Ones. The Dream. I like the producers.
You like the producer ones. See, it's funny.
Of course.
But it's funny because that's how it started. Like, to me, it was a lot more interesting when it was the producers and songwriters, because I forget some of the things they worked on.
And they done.
Or you just
was
don't
it Sean
know.
Garrett in Dream?
Yeah.
I said Big Sean. Sean Garrett.
Yeah, Sean Garrett.
And he's phenomenal.
Right.
He was phenomenal.
And that's what made the verses hot to me. Right. Like, and then the artists took it over, like, because they always want to be seen. They performing. Like, it was good. It's good for the culture.
Right.
But I liked it with the writers and producers.
Which is how it started. Yeah, see, Versus is one of the best things that came out of quarantine to me. And I think people forget how it started. It was the most authentic start ever. It was Timberland and Swiss on IG Live. Swiss was in his car
and talking about you
don't want that smoke, and started just playing beats and just had like a real beat battle. Which, if you've ever been around, if you have producer friends, I'm sure they've done that, where they just go back and forth with beats. Yeah, I mean, that's where it started. Now, it's grown into this whole thing where they got Triller and they have a whole platform. And I'm happy with how they did that deal and made sure everybody was a part of it.
Yeah, that was major.
I think people complain so much about it, but I'm like, you know what? When something like that happens, it served its purpose. I think people are just like, the Black community needs to have something. Like, we could use something, let it serve its purpose, and let it go, because we already have the recipe to do it again if we want to.
A creator is going to create.
And it's not going to stop.
And you can't sit, because that was smart, for them to get that money for that, because it was like everybody about to be back outside.
Right. Anyway, that's what I was thinking too, because once that's the other thing. They could move it. You could move Versus as a tour.
No, that part.
Which, mean, so I'm not sure what, I don't know what their business plans are for it, but I think it was good for them to partner with a network that has some more cash and, some more mobility. And you could keep it in this format and they can make money on that platform, but you can also expand it in other ways.
Yeah, like you said, touring.
And I don't think that, because I know a lot of people are talking about if they open it up to white audiences. I don't think that would be a problem, because the audience would be different.
More money.
The issue is, some people would say, like, those numbers would dwarf the Black artists, right?
No.
It will.
But Black producers and writers work also with these white artists.
Yeah.
But
I'm
we're
excited.
talking about if it's artists
I know, but
that's doing Taylor Swift versus
Pink, I don't know. Like just
She would wash Pink.
Pink, she would watch
out of
Pink.
here.
But Pink is also like dope. But
Yeah,
then
Pink
people
is
are
dope.
like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. I'm like, y'all be forgetting like, yo, Pharrell's done stuff for NSYNC.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
Justin
yeah,
Timberlake has, you know.
See,
God,
but
good things.
that's the producer side.
I know.
Right.
That's what I'm
the
thinking.
artist, it will trump. I think
Yeah.
it will.
Oh, if you did a
It will.
Backstreet Boys versus NSYNC, that's
It's a
gonna.
wrap.
It might.
Yeah.
You might have a billion views.
And now we're gonna be mad. We're gonna be like,
And this
oh,
is
it's
what
not
this
the
is what
same
black people
no
are
more.
saying. Like,
I get that.
you know, we're gonna be like, oh, we all versus. They, you know,
You gotta
but,
make money too.
but at the same time, I don't knock anybody for building something and letting it grow like that. You know, I'm happy to see them
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
So speaking of growth, let's talk about how you guys met. Let's talk about your
we
your
met.
family growing, and we'll get into that.
She loves this question. man.
I always love throwing it on Cal because he has his
took it
own
off her
rendition in his
podcast.
head.
It always happens.
Right?
He has his version. I have my version.
Right.
Your version is you forgot me. But anyway, go ahead. You go ahead.
What's your version, babe?
I got the real version.
I got the real version.
So I don't know how we was friends on
Okay.
Facebook. But we was friends and
You don't know how?
You don't know how?
You ain't see-
Yo,
you
she
ain't-
just
requested
popping
me?
up
You
on
ain't
my
see the
timeline.
the
Add
picture.
friend?
Yeah, I
Add
probably
friend.
added you or you. I don't know
I
if
ain't
we
add
added
you,
her.
boy.
But hey, whatever happened, she was on my page and I think I commented or something. Said,
Calvin hopped
I'm like,
in
yo,
my
how do I know
DM.
you? Why are you on my timeline? I don't know you. I don't know you.
No, he
But,
didn't.
hey,
He said, "Where do I know you from? You don't."
that's the go-to.
That's
That's the
a
go-to.
the-
But I
that's a
was-
nice one right there.
I
I like
was
that. I like
dead
that
serious.
one.
I was dead serious. And so then she said something like, yo, you probably know me from my boyfriend or something. And I'm like, oh, all right. I didn't know you had a boyfriend.
Oh,
So,
so that's what she hit you
and
with.
so I fell back. And no,
Right.
I said, oh, yeah, I did
Spicy.
say. I did what.
Do you
I
want me
ain't
to
gonna
say it?
I was like, yo, shoot, whenever y'all done.
Whenever y'all done,
And then I fell back.
feel you, bro. I feel you,
He
bro.
really said.
Respectfully.
And I stopped. And I didn't hit her
He
up
did.
again. And I was dead serious. I was like, oh, my
respect
bad.
that.
Because I didn't even know she had a boyfriend. Because
Right.
I don't jump.
He didn't know how you was on the timeline. He don't know you got a boyfriend. He's
Yeah,
just
I
trying to
don't-
find out.
He was running down my
I ain't
pictures.
that person. I ain't that person that was about to just jump on. Like I see you with your man all the time, and I'm still in your inbox. Like
Right.
it wasn't that.
He didn't know. He was like,
So-
"Oh, I didn't know you had a boyfriend."
But then after that, she started hitting me up.
No, I didn't. This is what happened. I'm with my girlfriend, and I see a picture of his brother. Now, I went to school with his brother. I went to school with Kim. So me and my girlfriend, I'm like, Kim. I was like, Kim has a brother? And she's like, Kim has a brother? And we're like, we didn't know Kim has a brother. And I comment like, oh, I didn't know Kim was your brother. And he's like, yeah.
I'm
that's my
like, you don't
brother."
know me. So why does that matter if Cam is my brother? And so I was like, so at this point, I'm like, okay.
Oh, so now you cool because she knew your brother.
Yeah, so she just tried to make conversation. So
No,
I just went
wasn't.
along. And then so I think we left it alone again. It was just social media then.
Yeah.
And then that next time I hit her up and you posted a story and I told her to hook me up with her girlfriend.
Oh,
And I said,
It
okay.
was the trick. It was the.
Oh.
I was like, yo, what's up with her then?
right.
He was like, oh, what's up with one of your girlfriends? And me, I'm not that type of person. Like,
Right.
no, I was just like, oh, okay,
Nah, she
yeah,
hated
sure.
it.
Which
She
one?
said they all taken.
No, I said 3 of them. 2 of them are married. 1 in the back is taken. He was like, that's fine because I didn't want none of them anyway.
Oh, I like this.
And
I
I
had
was
to switch
like,
it up.
oh, okay. And we
Okay.
just
And then
went back and forth.
and
I
she lied about having a boyfriend
did.
too. And so she's like,
did.
just know I wouldn't even be responding to you if I really had a boyfriend.
Yeah.
I
It
just
wasn't
ready to
that.
move on.
I had walked away from a relationship and I guess I wasn't ready to engage with Calvin.
Right.
And so we were just talking back and forth and I was just like, if I didn't have a boyfriend, I wouldn't. If I did have a boyfriend, I wouldn't be responding.
Right.
To him. And he's like, oh, so you're single? I'm like, yeah, I'm single.
I was with my boy. I was like, yeah, got it.
Yes. Once you hear that, once they say that, like, hey.
That's when you gotta walk around like dapping your boy like,
All day.
Hey.
I'm out of here, guys.
And so we just started talking. Like we had our, own things going on. We were very honest with each other. Like, hey, we're seeing other people, but there was nothing wrong getting to know each other.
Right.
And then I got deployed to Texas for a little bit for charity work for hurricane relief over there. So when I was working over there after Hurricane Harvey, that's when we got close. So it started kind of like long distance.
Y'all long distance, John, too.
Every day.
Relatable content.
That was so corny, but
That's cool.
Y'all up here bonding over the.
She hype over that. She always like, yeah, you know, I don't know if it will work. We got to know each other. So I'm like,
I appreciated the distance because I feel like it removed the distractions that usually come when you're in person. You have to get to know the person now because you don't have the physical stuff to
involve,
right?
Distract you and to cloud your judgment.
Right.
And so that was the thing. And I was in Texas and I'm like, I can't stop thinking about this guy and I don't know why. And I was already like we were honest, like we were talking, dating other people, but it was like us, like we just connected,
right?
Like it was just like we were falling asleep on the phone with each other. We
talking
woke
about her
up.
dates and stuff that she have.
Wait, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm getting ready for a date. He's like, I hope he cancels on you. Lo and behold, my date was canceled.
Yeah, put it in the universe.
You gotta speak it sometimes.
And so I'm texting him. I'm like, I can't believe you did that to me. Our date was canceled. I was so mad. And he's like, I'm just waiting around because I'm supposed to be in the studio with Fab. And I'm like, okay. And what happened?
Flex on her. I feel you, my boy.
Okay, whatever. And so it just turned into like the minute I came back, it was just nonstop conversation. His way of asking me out was, I don't want you talking to nobody else. Get rid of the other guys you're talking to. Yeah. That was his way. And I was like, they gotta go. All them other guys gotta go.
At me.
She tried to tell me, because she was long distance, and she was like, you could talk to other people. I was like, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
She's trying to set me up. I was like, nope.
It wasn't a trap.
I believe you now, but at the time I was thinking.
Wait, she said you could talk to other people?
Yeah, she was like, go ahead. She's like,
that's when y'all was just talking.
That's what she was saying.
Right.
Like, yo, we was on different timetables, and usually I'm slower. She was moving super slow.
Calls me sloth baby
sloth baby.
But yeah, I'm just like, I'm not there, and maybe you want to go out and have fun and meet other people.
She trying to set you up to mess up.
Yeah, she's trying to set me up.
No,
real you.
It was real. I'm like,
I
don't need
woman.
you to sit down here and wait. Like, we have this connection. At the end of the day, we'll be friends or whatever. But
So we had
don't wait. Like,
we had a lot of talks.
Do what you got to do.
By the time we had this conversation, I had learned that, she told me, I'm going to put you out there, that she had a history of self-sabotaging in relationships. I was like, oh, she's trying to do this to me. Not on my watch.
It didn't look like that, though.
Not on sabotage.
She was like, because we had a connection. I'm thinking we in a relationship. She's like, yeah, you can talk to other people. And I knew if I did that, she'd be like, well, you're all right with this person. You don't need me.
Yeah, go get Vicky.
But I didn't do it.
Ooh, he didn't
and
fall
now
for
you
that
here. Didn't fall for it.
It was not a trap. It was not.
She wanted to know what you wanted to do.
Yeah,
that's what girls be saying.
Yeah.
They say,
I want to see what you rather do.
That the girls say all the time?
I don't tell you what I want you to do. I want to see what you rather do.
Right. Yeah. That's prime example.
I mean, look, at the time, my life was just not set up for it. It was not a priority at all.
Yeah, she kept telling me that. Which was
if I came back and he was with somebody and that was who he was with, I would have been like, okay, well, I'm happy that you're happy.
We can still be friends.
Good.
That's
we can still be cool.
We have been pretty cool, I guess. I don't know. Were you cool?
Yeah.
I don't know. She goes to me. So we went to school together. I transferred. I was playing D1. I'm just doing a brief version. I was playing D1 basketball. So I transferred to another school. Transferred from FDU to Del State, and it was in the middle of the year. And I didn't get a chance to say bye to a lot of people, including her. And she was upset about it. And for a period of time, she didn't talk to me.
Right.
She wouldn't answer my messages.
You didn't say bye?
I guess because I didn't say bye. I didn't know.
I didn't know where he was. I didn't know what was going on or anything.
I was messaging her on Facebook, and she was just not answering me. So then, we reconnected years later. On
many years later,
like Messenger or
Instagram
something.
Instagram.
Something like I saw she was doing jewelry. I tried to get her to send some jewelry from my sister's music videos. She was like, "Yeah," and then she just ghosted me again. I didn't know what was going on, but this is how it felt from my perspective. I mean, now I know, but. She like ghosted us. I was like, dang, she's still mad. She still set me up.
Hard to get. She is making you pay.
right.
She's making you work.
Right. So
I did not ghost you.
You did.
I didn't ghost you.
Okay.
I was just off doing the things that I had to do. I had to travel because I was back and forth at the time between here and Barbados, dealing with my grandparents and stuff like that. So I had to leave, and every time that I had to leave, it was really short notice. That I would have to leave in like a week or something like that.
She didn't tell me.
And then I think I'd be coming back in a month, and then I end up spending almost a year in Barbados. So that's where my life was at the time.
Right. Nice, so you know, eventually we got together, and it's been good. Now we got.
It better be. I mean, hello.
Yeah, bundle of joy.
It's like it better be. It's a whole baby in me.
So before we get into that, I realized that I don't know that much about you and where you came from, because I know him through music. I know his music career, and then you start talking about, you know, getting deployed, and I'm like, wait a minute, you got a whole life too. So let's talk about it.
What?
So let's talk about it.
Yeah, let the people know.
No, so I'm not in the Army. So people, when I say deployed, everybody's like, you in the Army? I'm like, no, I worked for a charity organization. And anytime there was a hurricane or a natural disaster, we were able to be sent out as case managers to help with hurricane relief.
Okay.
Nice.
So it would be like Florida, Puerto Rico, Hurricane Harvey, which is where my focus was.
How'd you get into that?
Man, so you would not believe it. I'm sitting. I went to school in Puerto Rico. I'm from Puerto Rico, and I went to school in Puerto Rico. Yes, Caribbean.
Yes.
Went to school out there, and I graduate, and like a day or two later, I land in my plane lands in JFK, and I'm taking a train home, and I'm sitting on the train, and I get an email, like literally 2 days after I just finished walking the stage, and basically they want to interview me. Nice. For case management, because my bachelor's is in psychology, and I was like, okay, awesome. And it was to work in Camden, New Jersey. I'm like, bet. I've always worked in Camden, New Jersey since I was younger. Helped feed the homeless, with my parents, and just working there as a pharmacy technician. So I was like, bet.
Right.
And I got in the door, and that's how I just started. And it started off working for the Work First New Jersey. So that's an area for those who are on welfare in New Jersey. But while being on welfare, they're receiving cash assistance. Cash assistance, depending on how many dependents they have, or if it's just general assistance if they're solo on their own. But we're helping them set goals and find employment and find housing so that they could be self-sufficient, not being on the government's help, while not being on Medicaid anymore.
Right.
So that was the goal. And then I ended up digging my hands into other things while I was there. That was one of the things. I wanted to be sent out to Puerto Rico, but Puerto Rico was so bad after the hurricane destroyed my island that they said I couldn't go.
Right.
They were like, you can't go. But Hurricane Harvey had just happened during the time of Hurricane Maria. Right. So my boss was like, they want you out there for like a month and a half. And I was like, I'm out.
Damn, I don't even remember it being a whole month and a half. That's
Yo, at least you only had a month. How long were you gone? You was gone for so long.
9 months.
Yeah. 9
That's
months. A lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah. And it takes a toll. No, actually, I think I only came back a couple of weeks early because then my grandmother ended up passing away. So they had to send me back early. But if not, like I was supposed to stay there even longer than a month and a half because they asked my supervisor if I could transfer. They're like we really need her out here. And one thing is, even though there are a lot of Spanish speakers in Houston, they asked, like, they need more Spanish speakers who can help move these cases of these victims of hurricane disaster. Like, a lot of the people I work with lost everything in Katrina, moved to Houston, then lost it again.
Yeah.
And it was the craziest thing I've ever witnessed. Like, I remember we were working with Court Furniture. I don't know if you guys know that store. It's a furniture department, and Best Buy and I just want to say Best Buy and Court Furniture. And this lady's house got completely flooded, and Catholic Charities and millionaires in Houston donated so much money that we had to use it up. And on top of that, grant money.
Right.
So we teamed up with Court Furniture and Best Buy. And this lady was like, I don't have a bed. It's just me and my husband. Everything is flooded. We furnished her whole house for free because Court Furniture was like, team up with us. We'll pay for everything and send it. This woman broke down crying in front of me. And I'm just like, dang.
That's super meaningful work. I mean, I think it's crazy when people are deployed to disaster areas, because when I look at like those videos and those images, I'm like, yo, where do you even start?
Yeah.
Like I mean, like I look at some stuff. I'm like, I don't even know how you start cleaning up. I don't know how you start.
See them up, taking all the bags out the van. Like, yo, is that even enough?
Is that like, it looks like it'll never.
It's something.
It looks like it would never get back to, it does. That's the thing. Like you can rebuild, and it does happen. People like you go out there and make that happen. Right. But I look at it, I'm like, I don't know where you would start with that.
You have to have a dedicated team. It's long hours. It's exhausting, but I loved it. I would say one thing I've always loved was that. And that comes from my parents. Like, since I was a kid, my parents always had me under K&A, like in that area in North Philly, under the the train, under the L of Kensington and Allegheny. And it would be dead winter, and we're feeding the homeless. And my parents would do that every Saturday after church, because I grew up Seventh-day Adventist.
Right.
So they would, like, after church, we would just go straight there. And my parents would show me, like, there are so many people who are less fortunate than you.
Right.
And I will always remember that, because what people don't know is that I was separated from my siblings at birth. And so my mother was just my mother came from that generation where the crack epidemic hit us, and then the mass incarceration era hit us directly. So, my mother was incarcerated. A lot of my siblings were separated. She struggled with drugs. So, we weren't raised by our parents, like by our biological parents. So my parents that did raise me, they would tell me, like, you're in this family, you're a part of us, but always remember, like, your brothers and sisters, they don't have food every day. Like, they don't have heat and hot water on, in their home every day. So you have to be conscious and be grateful of the things you have. So when my parents be on me, like, you better turn off that light, you better stop running that water. Yeah. They would remind me, like, yo, you have siblings out here who do not have that. Like, you don't know where your siblings are. Like, you don't know if they ate today, but you have a meal every day.
Right.
And so even though I learned to have, like, this type of privileged life because of my parents, in the back of my mind, it was always like, yo, there's mad people out here that don't got none of this.
Right.
Yeah, it's important to to have a perspective of both sides, in my opinion, of, because we live in such a separate society.
Right.
Like the society is clearly divided between those who have and those who don't.
Yeah.
That's growing every day, unfortunately. But if you are lucky enough to be on the side, a lot of times people that have just don't want to look at what's going on with those who don't.
Turn a blind eye.
And that's one is dangerous, and because you're not connecting with most of the population, because there's a lot more people that don't. And I think it's just good for you to develop as a human to understand that your personal experience is not the same experience as many other people.
Right.
And it's unfortunate. It's a lot easier to go from having and to look at those who don't have than because if you don't have, you can't see. It's very rare that you get an opportunity to see people that do. I was lucky enough to grow up in a family that was pretty successful. My dad was pretty successful in music and stuff, and but he always made sure I was still connected with
the real world.
I mean, he's from Camden. He grew up in Camden. Our family's from Camden. We would always go to Camden. I play every summer I'm playing in Camden. I'm there all the time, and I'm connected with those people. And, I have a lot of family still there. I'm still connected there. And it's hard for me to watch how it's devolved. But it was interesting to me as a kid, trying to understand why, they aren't living the same life that I'm living. Yeah. And when they would come out to Voorhees, the suburbs, rich town, right?
Sham.
Right. They had no experience of what it was like out there, and it's just crazy.
It's a different concept, and I think people are just like, oh well, the streets in Camden are like that because people are poor and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, you have to look at the history of Camden.
Right.
The history of Camden is embedded, without people realizing it, racism, systemic racism, and slavery. The Cooper Landing ferry family, those were all slave auctions there. So this area wasn't particularly built first for African people of African descent, you know. And then eventually, when I remember my boss saying, "Oh, well, we're so proud of people, of this particular person who helped stop the white flight in Pennsauken." And I was like, are you hearing what you're saying? You're happy that somebody stopped white people from living because black people, we reproduced and we had to find another place to live that was affordable for us.
Right.
And then so white people are living in, you know, moving out of these communities because black people, you know, moving in.
Right.
So it's like now you want to stop bringing in investments. Now you want to stop bringing in
you know,
good
it's
infrastructure.
crazy because like when my dad always talks about when he was coming up, and he was actually one of the first kids to integrate one of the schools in Camden, and like they kicked him out the school picture, and all his aunts had to go up there and try to get him back in there because, you know, my dad is he's an old guy. You know, this is becoming a thing now. I'm talking about my dad, so if you're watching this is you. But he so he remembers a different Camden that was very mixed. Yeah. It was there was a lot of jobs there. Camden was you know, in the 60s, like 50s, 60s, and I guess even early 70s, you know, you had a lot of factory workers and a lot of blue collar jobs, and there was the community was really tight knit to some extent, but there was segregation. Like there's, you know, he keeps talking like the railroad tracks was a barrier,
definitive line,
right? It's a definitive line of where you could go safely and where you could travel. And he was talking about, you know, him and his boys and his brothers would go across the railroad tracks and play basketball against the white boys, and you know, sometimes like, you know, they would be trying to chase him out of there, like so. While he has fond memories of it, there was distinct level of racism even then. Right. When the jobs left, you know, as the factory jobs left,
the community
all the
poor.
white people left, and it became poor. They took all the investments out, and it's crazy to watch now as jobs are coming back. You know, they have Subaru and the Cooper Hospital
and Hilton, the Hilton Hotel.
They're building up the waterfront. The Sixers bought that property. Yeah. Now white people are coming back in, and
black people
they're kicking them out.
Yes.
And now we can't afford these African American citizens that live in Camden cannot afford to live there now. Yeah. And so it's like, where else are they going to go? I always said I never understood how Camden is a full community. It's over policed, one. Yeah. And so it's so disenfranchised as a community. It does not give good opportunities for job programs. Well, it hasn't. It's starting to now.
But they're not employing the people from the city.
They're not, and that's the problem.
Right. You're like these jobs are there, but they're employing people from Philly, Cherry Hill. They're skipping the people that are the workforce that's there.
In the center.
Which is what they got all these tax breaks. And this is not what I plan on talking about. But
this her lane right here.
They got all these they got all these tax breaks and tax incentives to come here to, you know, to up the workforce, which they're doing, but not the workforce that's in the city. So it's complete and utter gentrification that's happening in Camden. It's like textbook.
Yeah,
gentrification.
It sounds like Harlem.
Yeah,
it sounds like Harlem.
Which
It sounds like Fort
Greene. Right.
It sounds like, you know, and this is a repetitive thing. I've always said, like, there's no reason why the people in the city of Camden have to go all the way to Cherry Hill,
right,
for a Whole Foods.
Yeah,
you don't even have proper nutrition in that.
They don't have city. I don't know where a real supermarket is.
They go to Cousins,
right,
and that's okay, but that's limited, and everybody doesn't want Hispanic based food. You know, everybody has their own cultural differences, and I feel really bad, but I've, you know, working there for so long, you have a heart for the people who do not have the same opportunities as you. And I'm no longer working in Camden. I now work in the 5 counties surrounding Philadelphia, helping the elderly and the disabled who are on Medicaid and who need services. There's a lot of older people out here who don't have the needs to be cared for. A lot of family dies off. The streets in Philadelphia are so horrendous right now and still very segregated, especially in North Philly. One particularly, I have a person whose caregiver was killed in her sleep. Like, they broke into her house and killed her. So now you got to find somebody else to care for her.
Right.
So the streets are so deadly in Philly right now that these people are dropping like flies.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
It's really sad.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, she was being a caregiver for her grandparents. But they were from Barbados, which was a little bit different.
Yeah. I mean, it opens your eyes to the system, the healthcare system, the discrepancies. We were even talking about that on the last episode with like how Black people, no matter whether you're a child, elderly, like there's a certain level of respect that you aren't afforded. And it's sad to see because when you get to a certain age, you should be able to rest. You should be able to enjoy the rest of your life. But it's like, it never stops. This fight never stops. Like, and
it's working until you
die. Yes.
Yeah, and if you can't work, there's no way to properly take care of you because the people that might love and care about you, they are so busy trying to work.
Have their own.
Yeah, they have their own life that they, and there's no real facilities that are, what's that John Oliver show Last Week Tonight? They just did a whole thing. They're because he focuses his whole episodes on one thing. Their last one was actually about the caretaking industry and how it's underfunded, undermanned, and it's just, it's not in a good position for America right now.
No, it's horrible. I was just listening to Code Switch, and they were discussing how there is a hospital in between Compton and Long Beach. I want to say, I may have the wrong city. I do apologize. It's called Martin Luther King Hospital, and how they were just basically saying how people are dying at such a faster rate because there is no preventative health care in the area because doctors won't set up shop because they can't make money there.
Right.
And because they can't make money there because everybody's mostly on Medicaid,
right?
Yes.
They won't set up shop to be financially taken care of. So the people who are there are dying of things that are preventative.
Right.
If they had a better access to health care. And essentially this is what I'm doing in Philly, making sure you have better access to health care.
Well, that is very important, and we are happy that you're doing that, and I am so glad I asked that question. Do you have any questions? I know you have some questions for them as a couple.
As a couple, let's see what we have here. What I'm really interested in is with your schedules, and you seem to have a lot going on. I know you have your podcast and everything.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about that first before we get into the questions?
Yes.
She just dropped her first episode, man. Shout out to
shout out to that. Let's go. We podding out here. Yeah.
Are you ready to pod? Right over there.
When I say Calvin, I know we were talking about when we came in, like about editing and everything. And after I finished editing with him and he was teaching me everything, I stood in front of the computer and I'm like, okay, I want to throw up now. And he's like, man, you got this. And I'm excited. It's called Love Her podcast. It focuses on the lack of women of color in leadership. I start my podcast, my first episode with Mayor Tiffany Worthy of Willingboro, New Jersey. Yes. So that's exciting.
Excellent.
Yes.
That was really huge for me. I had it in a vision. I wrote it down. And so I was really excited. It took me a second because I am coming off of another podcast, Girl Got Therapy. So I'm transitioning from one to another.
This is like her first one
by myself.
Yeah.
By myself. Nice. I've had my fair share. I've been on several different podcasts.
You've been podcasting for a little bit.
For a little bit.
Which is good.
That's nice. Nice training.
Yeah, that's what I felt like it was.
She loves to talk, so it's like that's so easy for her. It's perfect.
So I'm gonna do a plug because we haven't done any of these yet. So Mansa Media is a podcast network.
Yes.
And we are developing shows and we're developing talent. We're trying to make it affordable for all the creators so they can get their product out in a professional way and compete with those who are putting out top tier quality, because a lot of times you look out there and you're like, dang, I can't get it like that, but you can. So I wanted to ask you about your podcast journey and what made you want to first get into it. Because I will say this, even though I'm a part of Mansa Media, podcasting is not for everybody.
It's not.
Like, just like everything, just like producing and being in entertainment is not for everybody. Podcasting is not for everybody. Everybody thinks they can do it.
It's the new thing too.
Yes, it's really hot right now, but
it's hard.
It's
hard.
It's work.
No, it is.
But what made you want to get into that?
You know what it was? It wasn't a vision of getting into it first. It was it was speaking. When I was in school in Puerto Rico, I was just always speaking. They would always ask me, yo, can you talk about this? Can you talk about that? Can you talk about this? Or they would have me like, hey, we want to record a poem. Can you do this for us? And so when I started doing that, and then I started educating myself a little bit more about social justice issues and politics and the lack of women of color in leadership, it was starting like in 2015. Somebody was like, you need to start like getting behind a mic and saying this.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm straight. And so I'll never forget, it was a brunch CG had. I don't know if you guys know what CG Carr is. CG Carr had a Kings and Queens brunch, and she invited me there. And so I'm sitting there and I'm hearing former officer Kelly Logan of Willingboro, New Jersey. Now, those who don't know who Mr. Kelly Logan is, he his daughter Latrice Logan was killed a long time ago while I was in high school, accidentally. And so he's started a campaign to get guns off the streets in Willingboro and Camden. It's phenomenal work. But he made a comment one time when he talks about, because we're talking about how women should dress and things like that. And I don't think, I particularly was like, a man shouldn't be having a comment on what he thinks a girl should be doing with her body. You know, if that's just not your type of girl, it's just not your type of girl.
Exactly.
He made a comment and said, and women, be careful of what you're wearing out there, because a lot of these rapists, that's what they're looking after.
Wait a minute. Is this on Facebook?
Yes.
I remember this. I was in that thread.
It is on Facebook. It is.
Just trolling in
It's
there.
on Facebook, YouTube. You can find it. And he was like, you need to be careful what you're wearing, because these men out here are, you know, that's the men I've locked up, the rapists. That's why, because of the type of clothes you wear. And I was like, that's what we're not going to do.
Right.
And everybody just looked at me. I said, we're not telling women what to wear so they don't get raped. He's like, that's not what I said. And I said, oh, yeah, it is.
That one blew
basically
up.
Run that camera back. You just told women to watch what you're wearing to not get raped, when I know Muslim women who have been covered from head to toe getting raped. I've known men who have gotten raped. You know. And so I kind of said what I said, and everybody just looked at me, and I sat down there like, girl, you just insulted like one of the biggest police officers in Willingboro. Yeah. And then so after that, people came up to me like, nah, you need to start talking. Like you need to get behind a mic.
That's why I'm so happy she's doing it, man. Cause I have to hear her voice. But I love it because I learned a lot from her. Like, you know, she's very intelligent. So hearing her talk all the time, so it's like, yo, you have to do it. And you know, she did a bunch of different podcasts, but it was like her lane is like, she's very smart. Like so she can sit down with any woman and have a decent higher than decent conversation. I see her do it all the time. She comes with me to my sessions and it be females like big people, and she would sit there and have a great conversation with them, man. So she's doing very well.
She has a good presence, because you know, it's more than just, a lot of times people think they have a lot to say, and a lot of people do have a lot to say, but there's a lot of different mediums into how you can say that. Like, some people might be better at tweeting, some people might be better as authors, some people might be, you know, some people are rappers, they can't do podcasts, they can rap,
but they can
write
freestyle.
They could write a rap and it would be impactful and meaningful. But podcasting is a little bit different, and you have to have a presence. And you know, just sitting here, and you know, it's funny because I'm thinking back. You was on Nina's podcast, right? Yeah. And so you're the reason that we all met. Yeah, you and Nina, because that was Bianca. Bianca went there, and I went there with her. That was at Ace's studio. At Ace's studio. It's great. It's funny
because I did the intro for Nina.
Yeah, he made the intro.
They met, then they started really clicking, and then. That is really
crazy.
Crazy. How
it is.
That came.
And to be honest, Ace was the first person to tell me to do it by myself.
Right.
He hit me up. I'll never forget. He wanted me on another podcast that spoke about politics, but they had slowed down. And then Ace was like, texting me like, Lovelene, like, you could do this by yourself. And honestly, I prayed about it, and I got nervous. I got scared for years. I was really scared, and I was I guess I undervalue, like sometimes we undervalue ourselves, and I'm like, no, I can't do it by myself. And
sometimes you need a hype man.
We do. Yeah. And then I feel comfortable with that. Right. So when, you know, my other friend who came to me was like, I want to do a podcast. And I was like, sure. Like, I've been scared to do it on my own.
Right.
And, you know, after that, I felt like, you know, my relationship with God, we'd be talking. He was like, so you gonna keep ignoring me, what I'm telling you?
Right.
Because after that, I just kept hearing like, I've equipped you with everything, like inside of you to do this on your own, and your support system is gonna hold you up, and I'm gonna make sure of it. You will lack nothing if you stick with me. And I was like, all right, let's go, let's get it. And
everything in divine timing.
In divine timing.
It doesn't happen before it's supposed to.
Yep.
It's funny how that happens, because I'm thinking about how. So if you don't know, this is a kind of another plug, but Nikita is a meditation guide with the Knowledgeverse.
Yes.
Which is a new Black-owned, women-led, or women-owned, Black-owned-led. I'm not sure.
Black-owned,
I might have
women-led.
You got it.
Organization.
I said it backwards. But yeah, it's a space for where they have guided healers. They do like meditation, Reiki practices, yoga, all that kind of stuff.
All that stuff. Yeah.
And she's a meditator there, and that is a brand new. It was kind of a brand new thing for her. Like
I've been dabbling in meditation, and got Oprah and Deepak and all them different challenges. I've been doing that for years. Trying to manage anxiety, depression, all that stuff. So then last 2 years, like I lost my grandparents, and from that grief just opening up so much in my life, like opportunities and just a space to say, okay, what do you want to do? Where are you going? Like just take stock. And I decided like I was just going to say yes to opportunities. Just
a lot
do you
of
usually tell yourself no?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of that had to do with me just saying, hey, let's do this.
Yeah.
Do this. Try that.
And I was like, sure.
Try that. She just started saying sure, and it's been beautiful to watch her step into this purpose.
Yeah. And it's good that you have somebody that does that.
Yes, and that's the other thing. Like sometimes you need that person that sees you and you can't see yourself all the time.
Oftentimes we need that. Go ahead, baby.
I said you probably do it to him too.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
That's very important, I think, in a relationship. Because you have to trust your partner enough to know that they have your best interests.
Right.
Yes.
And especially when both of you creators. And that's like the perfect thing. I love the fact that me and her are creators, because it's not like just me talking, because I could go on for days to talk. And she tries to listen sometimes, because sometimes she don't know what the music side a lot. Yeah. So I'll just be running off, and I have to stop myself like, all right, you know what? And just vice versa. So when she gives me ideas, she's like, oh, you should sample this. Oh, this would be a good one. And I have to explain, like, just because you like a song doesn't mean you have to sample it.
Right.
I do it. And I make Calvin a list of songs. So I'm like, I'm invested into you just as much as you're invested into me.
Can you give
what you want, my sample list?
Producer. Just give him
two.
Top three of them.
My top three.
Oh,
okay. This is my sample list. And Calvin be like,
how he reacts.
Calvin be like, baby, I can't touch that song. I be like, why?
You be scared if the song hot.
If the songs be hot though.
Okay. I told him, Break You Off by The Roots.
Ooh. That's a tough song to sample though. It's a monumental song, and it's live instrumentation. That's a tough one.
My favorite. He don't want to touch it, but I told him to do it because it's my favorite beat ever, and you're gonna laugh. Oops by Tweet.
That beat's tough.
I told her that beat is still relevant.
Yeah, that one still goes.
It was 15 years ago. What do you mean?
It's Timberland. Like,
yo, but you know what though? Like, you can flip these.
That's what I told him. And my third one, because I feel like
you played something when me and Bianca was in the studio with you. You flipped something. What was that, John? Was it the Destiny's Child, John? You had flipped, or it was something? Oh, it was something.
You have one with Destiny's Child.
But I just did that one. But,
oh yeah, you did.
It was one of
Brandy.
It might have been a Brandy.
Broken
John. I knew it was.
Was it?
Yo, you played something. It might have been. Yo, you had flipped. I was like, I don't know how he did this. I was sitting there going, I was making all them producer meme faces.
Yeah,
all the meme faces.
Yeah. Really, I had to really get out there.
No. I gotta hear the third.
Oh, my third one is Ja Rule. What do I do?
Ooh.
And I
said that's actually
a good one.
No? Stevie Wonder, right?
Yeah.
What do I do? Never.
But it's but you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Do I do?
Yeah.
What you do? Oh, that's
Stevie.
My God.
That is Stevie. Yeah.
See? And I told her,
they're great songs.
But he'd be like, I can't touch that. I'd be like, for why not?
Certain songs.
See, now, Ja Rule version. Give it underserved.
I know, you play that in the studio, Meek Mill, he gonna be like, yo.
Get out of here.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I have belief in you, bro.
It's one she did give me. It was Luma D.
Luma D. That one Luma D song she had.
That's
I was actually... how's it go again?
But I told him, I said you could do the Luma D or
I was gonna put them together. It was Luma D.
It's the what's the original track?
Which was that guy? Is it Kevin Small? Something Small?
Cause tonight's gonna
Got somebody.
Yeah. Wayne, was that Wayne?
That's
Wayne Wonder.
Wayne Wonder.
And
yeah.
I was gonna
That's what I told
we was on
him.
our way to the studio last week. And I'm like, yo, the session was running late, so I'm like, dang, I need something to work on.
Yo, you know what's hilarious?
What?
I recently sampled that and made I didn't do nothing with it. I did. I recently sampled that joy because we were talking about trying to do you want to do some more
something with a more island flavor.
Yeah, more island flavor. So I was like, I went and I took that because there's a track that they just kept looping. Like, it's been sampled a million times. I found that joint and I was starting messing with it. I haven't made nothing with it yet though. But
chopped it up.
Yeah.
See, I was gonna take it and use that Luma D on top of it because the
that one because it's very similar. The class,
it's the same beat. They just tweak the production.
And so we was playing. We on the way to the studio. I'm like, yo, play it on iTunes. And then I was gonna put them together and then add different music to it.
Right.
And so what I ended up scratching that and went straight to make them say, masterpiece.
Right. And now I'm in the studio with a different face.
The artist walk in like, oh, we about to do something gangster. I'm like, nah. But you know, sometimes I like when I'm in the studio, I like to sample more than I like to come up with original stuff at home. But if I'm in the studio with the big speakers, I like to
come up with anything.
Yeah, I like to go through.
Yo, you're wild proficient on keys though.
Yeah, yo.
See, that's what I wish.
Is that church? That's
the church in them.
Yeah. See, but I love the fact that I'm not a maestro all the way on keys. Because a lot of times the maestros
mean.
If you extra crazy on keys and that's what you do, and then you be like, yo, because everybody that play the keys can't be a producer.
No, they can limit themselves.
You be just putting mad sounds on different, like the trumpets on. You be like, yo, I need the alto note. Right. And it's like, yo, and that happened with me too. Like I had to really dumb down because as a musician, you like, yo, this goes with that chord, that lead on top of that chord and switching the progressions.
Right.
And you don't need it.
You don't need all that
simplicity.
And then, working with Cardiac, he don't play the keys at all, but his knowledge of music is crazy. And it makes you, when I sit down, I'm like, yo, I don't have to do all that, yo. And long as you have the knowledge of it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of production to me, what I had to learn is arranging. Right, like, cause so I do almost by a process of reduction. Like I'll do all that stuff. I'll put in all these things and say,
taking them out.
I don't need that. I don't need that.
Do you overthink? Do you feel?
I just no, cause I do video and music. So like with video, I'm much more precise with like what I want to see. With music, I'm just making stuff.
Yeah,
like I don't know what I'm gonna. I'm winging it,
video
and I don't know.
Yeah.
So like to me, music has always been because I went to school for video and I started making music. My family has always been in music. I've been around music my whole life, but I wasn't planning on actually being an artist or a producer or any of that. So I just started making music for fun. Like it was it was therapeutic. It was fun. I was just making it just to make it. And like when I was putting all that stuff in there, I had like all these different parts, and then it wasn't. My sister was the one that told me, she's like, "This could be good. It's just too much going on." Like, she's like, "Yo, my sister
that a lot
harsh.
too."
Yeah, she was like, "This first." She was like, "What would I do with this?" I was like, "I wasn't making it for you. I was making it for me. I just want to listen to it." But then like I heard her voice and I was like, "All right, let me see what happens. I pull this out. And she's like, "See, this is good, right?" And she started stealing it.
Yeah, she's like, "Now
that's a big thing as a creative. Like you have to know how to edit yourself.
Yeah.
Even when I used to make jewelry, it'd be like, okay, let's pull this.
Let's
back
took a jewel out or two.
You start just over
pull
creating.
this back. Yeah, because you can just do too much. It sounds great and you want to do everything and do all the sounds and all that, but
you don't need it.
Sometimes when you just pare it down, and
especially when with music as a producer, when you're working with artists that aren't even in the studio, you have to allow them to have room to put themselves on there. I sometimes think about production as almost creating a canvas, like we're building a canvas for an artist to paint on. Exactly. So you have to, part of the thing is giving them the space and giving them the room to be themselves and giving them a platform to do what they do best, which is a difficult thing to do.
Then you could do post-production after,
right?
Like maybe.
Then you can add some fills in later.
And then after they put the vocals, you like, man, I don't need to put nothing else on this.
Right.
And I love that you're saying this because this is what I keep telling you about like dance hall music. Like in dance hall, somebody will make a beat and then you put it out and an artist does their own thing on it. They'll throw a little bit of production that makes it unique. That sound, their sound. So Sizzler will do something,
right?
You know, Lucian, whoever will do something. And everything sounds different,
right.
and you know it when you hear it, even though it's the same beat.
Yeah,
so dancehall culture is different than like this is one of the things I've been learning since we've been together. Is dancehall culture is different than most American music.
It is.
Because like they will recycle the same rhythm tracks and this like they'll have whole playlists and it's like an hour to say it's a Caribbean thing.
But
we know it's a different song
every time.
Exactly.
I'm like, yo, how they make it sound so different? Every go the same.
Exactly. And then you got some that just pop and it's like, what did that song hit and this one didn't? And it's the same beat, but it's like there's elements in there that's unique to each. Whether it's
and that's
melody,
hard to find. That's the difficult part.
The skeleton is the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
It's easy to do a C sharp major chords and just play with those, but it's hard to find that one, like you said, that one little. Like Timbaland is the greatest at that, taking one little sound,
and making
it the best part of the beat.
Right.
So. I know exactly what you mean, and that's hard. That's not even easy.
Yeah, I remember when Timbaland put that baby in that Genuine on, boy.
The little laugh part. Yeah.
I was like,
who does that?
I was like,
that was like my favorite part.
Bro, that's my favorite. I was like, yo, what's going on?
Because at the end, on the dropout, you could really hear.
You can really hear it. Yeah,
like, yo, I love that part of the song.
That song crazy. And yo, you know what's funny? I be listening to different things than most people. I'm aware of that. Like when I'm listening to a beat, it'd be like this. I'll be like, yo, listen to this part right here. And everybody be like, what?
What part? What part? Yep.
It'd be like this small little thing that, but I feel like it's those things that people, like if you're just a consumer of it and you're not in that field, it's those things that you love too. You just don't recognize. You don't know why you love it.
Yeah.
Right. Like we were talking about earlier before we came on, we were talking about your journey through podcasting, and you guys were talking about the quality, right? And I was saying that. Well, I stopped myself because I didn't want to say. I wanted to say on camera. I was saying that quality is one of those things that's so important because people a lot of times don't know why they like something or why they don't.
Right.
But it could if you have bad audio or if you that will make you stop listening.
They're gonna know that. They don't know that you recording out a mic into a camera.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you try to do the camera without a mic, they're gonna notice it and go to the next joint.
They'll go to the next joint.
I can't even barely hear it.
Right. Yeah.
It sounds off. People think it's easy.
Yeah,
I'm learning,
There's
man.
But that's with everything, right? Like
that goes into it.
With music, if you don't get the song mastered properly and it doesn't have the right, if it doesn't hit their speakers the right way, people might not know why they don't think the joint slap. But it could just be the mix. It might not have anything to do with the talent, the song. It could just be the mix is a little off.
Yeah,
and
just slightly.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be horrible because if it's horrible, you might know.
Yeah.
But if it could just be a little bit off, and people will be like, I don't know, it's just not hitting like that. Like regular people.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to care about your craft and try to do something.
I see. I'm on the right lane because you got your camera set up how I had mine, and that was all just thinking. I'm like, yo, we need one shot of FC, but you did one shot with just us two.
Right.
I would have it of all of us, so maybe something else I need to learn too.
So that's what I wanted to do that. So if you guys are watching, you'll see where we have 3 cameras. There's one of them, there's one of us, and there's one of us too. Now the space we're in, if we had a wide shot, it would show like for us to all be in here, you'd have the lights, you'd have the cameras, and if we had a bigger space, you could get that. Now you might be able to do it with enough height.
Oh,
we don't have a rig.
Everything
will
show.
Right.
Yeah.
Got you.
So when you start, because we all have these visions of how we wanted to do. When you start trying to figure out, all video making and being a director is problem solving. It's like
trial and error.
Yes. It's how do I? Here's what I want. How do I get there? Right. That's all it is.
I'm editing, crying. He's like, it's trial and error.
I'll be messing up.
You cannot be afraid of the process because and even if you don't continue to like, if you guys blow up, which I hope you do, like I think you have the ability to do that. and you're not editing anymore, you know how to talk to an editor.
They're gonna hate us.
Right. Yeah. So it's good. It's good to go through the process of what you're trying to do, because now you have the language to communicate with them.
Yes.
And to help them get what you want and have a better working relationship.
I didn't think of that.
That's definitely that's how it is. Well, when I went to school for audio engineering and I interned engineering music. So now when I'm in the studio and I'm the producer, not the engineer, and I'm talking to the engineer, I know the lingo, and it helps them. Sometimes I could get on their nerves though, but it's easier for that. So it does make sense.
Right.
I'm learning through him.
It's funny. I was talking to Ryan the other day, like, because we have some ideas for some films. I'm not gonna go too far into it. Like you said, we ain't gonna say we working, but we
we working. We got a couple plays.
So. But I was saying to him that, 10 years ago, right, I would have been like early 20s, 20, 21, 22, 23. I don't know how old I am.
23.
I would had these ideas for films, but if somebody came and said, hey, here's $40 million to make a movie, I would have had no idea where to start. I would have had no idea how much things cost or how to talk to the different departments.
Right.
To get done what I needed to get done. I'd have been in over my head, even though I had these great ideas for films.
And you got the money.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, I think if, you have to be prepared for that opportunity, right? So now after doing multiple jobs, I've done like almost every job you can do in terms of film production, from sound, lighting. I've done so many different jobs. Now I know how all the departments work. So if I had that budget, I'd be like, cool, let's make. Here's how
exactly
it goes.
what to do.
So I think it's really important that if you're nervous about starting your journey, if you're nervous about getting into a new field, that you just kind of dive in and try stuff. Like trial and error is a great way to go into it, because you got YouTube University. Like go on YouTube and
we call it
right
YouTube University.
YouTube you can go there and learn so much faster.
Yes,
absolutely. And sign up for everything you want to learn.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing now. Like, I've been doing podcasting for a while, but man, after editing, I'm like, all right, let's look at how I'm going to work on Final Cut Pro. Like, I need to learn what this is and that is. And I mean, Calvin teaches me so much.
Right.
And
Calvin's learning.
Learning.
I'll be trying, like, it's levels to it. Like, way
oh my
more
gosh.
than me.
Coming here, we were like,
my head off.
To him.
The way you talk to me is the way I talk to him. It's levels to it. Like,
and I hear
bossing me up. Yeah, so, but like, I love it though. Like, once we bought the camera. Yeah. And at the time, like trial and error, we thought, oh, we got a camera.
This is easy.
I'm like, we need 3 cameras now. But I'm falling asleep with the Bluetooths off of YouTube, different
tutorials
ideas like lighting and all that. Even though I don't have it, but I want to know what I know. It's important.
So look, it happens so fast because. Actually, Ryan, my business partner,
Ryan got the bread.
Ryan got the bread.
Shout out to Ryan.
Hey. That's my production and all my media now. He hit me up looking for a production partner for media. Right at the time, he had just got a camera. He was doing his vlogs, and he was like, he didn't know about lighting. He did, now it's he can do anything by himself. He can run a whole show by himself.
Oh, that's right.
He can, he does. He gets more into the tech than I do at this point, which I love.
That's
It's
good.
funny because in my mind,
that takes off.
at the time when I met Ryan, I kept saying, and this is before I knew him, I was like, if I had somebody who could do the technical side so I could focus on the creative. Because doing both, I was doing both. And he does such a good job with that at this point. Like, it's amazing. And it's happened, it's been 5 years, but he picked it up really within the first year and a half. He was like, he was proficient at everything. So, it happens faster than you think it would. I know in the beginning it's tough and you feel like, man, this is just so much work. But you'll get it. You'll create a workflow and figure out. The one thing I would caution you with is booking your guests. Give yourself some time. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You could either record all your content and then go back and edit it, which is one way, because then you can control the flow of the releases and how you want to do it.
Yep.
Or you have to be careful how far out you book your guests. If you want to have it come out in a timely fashion, like if you want to record it, then release it. If you start doing that, you're gonna pile on top of yourself.
I've learned that. I think with this podcast was so I think was different with me. I'm on my own time with this one. Well, I'm on Calvin's time too.
My time is your time.
Oh, you gassing. But that's what I learned, and it's just like, no, I I've listened to so many podcasts who have podcasts just to show people how to run podcasts.
Right.
Because if you want to get into this podcast world, you got to study it.
Yes.
You want to get into this, you got to study it. So when people just want to get into like, oh, I want to do this and that, like, no, I do this. Like, I study this. I read up on it. I invest in this. I look for ways to better the podcast. I figure out what is a XLR mic.
Right.
Like, I'm looking into what does it need to be plugged into? How do I work a switchboard or whatever, you know? Yeah. So I really study it. But one thing I've learned completely is when it's on my time, I book my guests once a month. Like, no, this lady I listen to, her podcast is really teaching people how to run their podcast. And she said, I don't even do twice a month. Right. She said, I'm not here to get followers and guests. I'm here to help people and put out good content. Right. She was like, you want to do that 2-3 times a month? That's cool. But you will put out quantity with no quality. Right. And when you want to put out quality, you need to pace yourself because you have real life too.
Yeah.
Pace yourself.
Especially for the type that you do.
Yeah. Like, and I want quality at all times.
I think if you if you look at it like, yo, I got to drop every week.
Yeah.
Then you're going to start doing interviews with irrelevant
topics.
Yes. Like you like, just somebody to sit across from you. Like, have bangers, drop bangers. And
I've always been a fan of quality over quantity. Yes. The struggle for us was how do you do both? And that's what and I think as you first you master the quality and then you can work on how you can create more. And I think I think a lot of people focus on the quantity first, but I feel like it's important to get a good sense of quality and then dive into the quantity.
YouTube tells you have to keep putting
content out.
Like, yo,
I don't have time. I need to feed my kids.
But even just be consistent. You don't have to be consistent every week. Just consistent with like your audiences. Right. You promised your audience, hey, once a month, do it once a month.
Right.
And you know what? That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But like we're at the learning stage, and I'm glad we're getting this out now because we got something. We working, kid.
Oh, they working.
I ain't gonna say
we're working after the edit button to save, but we're working. We have
speaking of working. I was gonna ask you.
Go ahead.
How do you separate? When you because we're a couple and we work together in a lot of different ways. How do you separate? Your relationship and that aspect from how you work together.
Or we don't work at all.
Oh yeah, we don't work when we have the kids.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a nighttime.
Yeah, he's a night owl.
If she falls asleep, I start really working. Like I will leave the bed and I'm back at 5.
Yeah.
Right.
So
see, I think this is a music thing too.
Yeah.
But he's always been like that. Like he could make a track up until 5 in the morning. I'd be like, you don't want to go to sleep.
The time is not like my studio is in our basement, so it's one little window down there. So once I go down there, put the headphones on. So if I'm really into it, it doesn't matter the time. I pay for it the next day because
I'd be like, hello, because we both worked from home, but we've worked from home before that.
Huh?
We've worked from home before Corona,
right?
Before the virus. So now it's just like I'm like, all right, babe, I gotta log on. I'm looking at him, he's asleep. I'm like, get this baby.
Right
now, see, that's the thing.
Oh yeah, y'all gonna have to deal with that.
I have not learned about this aspect of it.
Please tell him.
It's about the payback.
Somebody
if you stay
tell
up
him.
late working on your content,
right?
You're gonna pay for it the next day, like around.
Give me some
give
me some
12 and
figure out a
5.
schedule.
He thinks it's gonna be, I'm gonna be up late at night, so I'll take the baby. I'll take the shift, the late night shift.
Yeah,
but you want to be up late at night working. That's what you want to do. You can't do both.
No,
you've seen it. You can't do both.
It's between 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. where I'm tired.
Right.
Like I'm not really tired in the morning, but that 12 o'clock hit, I'm like, I gotta sit down because I'll be up I don't go to sleep until like 4.
Right.
We gotta because we already do that, but you just have to learn how to have your schedule. Like if she's working and like you have that break, like that's the step in. And when I say every little thing helps to keep her anxiety down, like Calvin knew when I gave birth and we moved into our new house, I would get up and be like, these dishes are still here, and now my anxiety is going. He'd be like, I'll get them.
Oh boy, relatable.
I'll get them, and then 4 hours later, I'm like, these dishes are still here.
They're still here.
Hey, sometimes I get out there, I lock in on the kitchen. I love clean, like the kitchen. I don't like to clean nothing else but the kitchen.
It's true, and I'll give him that kitchen and living room. He'll wake up and he'll feed the kids, clear that kitchen out in that living room, and I'll be looking at him like, as a couple, I'll be like, you just do this because you want some. And he'd be like, no, but if you wanna, I'm here.
No, that's the nighttime. If you clean in the crib after 7 p.m.
You cook in there.
It's a reason.
Right.
Like, like the morning I'm cleaning because I'm trying to eat breakfast.
It's like you see me clean.
It's like, oh, you did such a good job on dinner, babe.
Hey, babe, I loaded the dishwasher.
And then he tells me, like, I saw you I'm a shower. He's like, you going there by yourself? Or?
I took the chicken out, kid.
The chicken out. It's out the freezer.
Got some time here.
You need help with anything?
Oh, man.
So I seen, how many kids do you guys have?
We have 3. 2 of a previous relationship with me, and then Kaylin.
And how old are your kids?
My son just turned 11 yesterday.
I seen him hooping.
Yeah,
that boy
is
a beast. He's different.
You got to bring him around the way so we can get him right.
Yeah, definitely. He just started his first year at AAU.
Nice.
This is his first time. He loves sports just all around.
Look like he's doing his thing.
And my daughter, she's 9.
Nice.
And then Kaylin, she's 1. She'll be 2.
She'll be 2 in June.
Oh.
June. More like
summer babies.
Summer babies.
Wait, when did y'all do?
August. I'm gonna keep saying August.
Yeah, let's just keep saying
it's
August.
late July, so the actual date is late July. But
whenever.
When's your birthday?
My birthday's August 2nd.
That's why.
Okay. So we gonna push
your birthday. September.
Oh, okay.
This is way past. Yeah.
Okay. So we gonna push for August.
Congratulations.
But my nephew, Bianca's baby is June.
Okay.
We get birth. Like our babies are a couple weeks apart. I think.
A couple days. No, he's about to be a year. So.
I thought we were pregnant at the same time.
Yeah, she's a year after. So yeah, all these summer babies.
Yes. Summer babies.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
like
really.
That talk going in and out the house and. In the summer is cool.
It's the best. It's like, it's your birthday during the summer.
Yeah.
We're going to Hershey Park, kid. Come on.
So how did it affect your relationship? Like the kids, pregnancy. How was that for you guys?
You know what? Oh, go ahead. You want to say? Because I'm going to hold it to you.
I was about to wing it.
I would say nothing really changed until I gave birth for us, because I walked in, obviously not pregnant. I clicked with the kids automatically, and we all have our own relationship. And then I got pregnant, and the attachment was closer. And then I gave birth, and now they think like that baby is theirs.
That's KK.
It is.
That's KK baby. That's not my baby. We just gave birth to it, and they just think that's their baby.
Right.
But when the baby come, it's a lot of mommy time. Like they're so tired all the time.
Well, I breastfed, so and that was my goal, and so she's my first, and I'm just like, get away. But I think it challenged us so much in how I communicate. I think for me, I had to learn how to communicate what I needed from him, even though sometimes I still struggle. Like sometimes I'll be like, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but
I'm like, but you are.
I'm in the kitchen. My anxiety's through the roof.
Right.
And it's just little things like that. I would see what struggled. For me personally, I feel like it might be different for you, because I remember my one fear while I was pregnant, and it was I'm walking into the hospital as one person and walking out of the hospital as a person who's a part of a family of 5 instantly.
Yeah.
Like overnight.
I think about that all the time.
You're walking in as one person and you're coming out.
Yeah. Yo, I think about how, pregnancy is something that's natural, that happens all the time, but it's also very unnatural. Like it just like there's a whole person in here. Like I mean, so it's not unnatural.
It's unreal.
It just feels unreal.
Surreal. Yeah.
It's surreal. Like I'm like, yo, in a couple of months,
you have to have
there's going to be a little person.
And they are going to want every part of your attention, your love, your just everything you're covering. Like, they are reliant on you. Right. And you're going to be like... Entirely.
Right.
And there's going to be days where it's like, ooh, you testing mommy. Mommy needs a second. But if there's somebody I learn patience with, it's with him and my daughter. And that's two different types of patience. Because I be like, I know y'all are not the same age right now. Get it together. Yeah. But it's different. And you're going to be like, the one thing, I don't know, but I'm just saying the one thing I love with him is just his interaction with all three of his kids. And I always say this about Calvin. Calvin does not, he may have a favorite and doesn't tell me. Because I know CJ's his favorite, but he don't tell me.
He's the only boy.
He's the only boy.
But he's not my
He's not his favorite. He doesn't have a favorite. But Calvin truly treats all his children the same. Like, I could never say, like, well, he treats Kaylin different. No. Like, from head to toe, there is no child he treats differently. And when you see that connection that he has and you see how much the kids, like, cling on to them, even for me, like, sometimes I'll take a step back, like, yo, like, sometimes the kids just need to be with their dad. Like, they don't need me in their face all the time. Like, so I'll mosey on up to my room. It's a little self-me time. But it's daddy daycare time, too.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes CJ want that one-on-one with his dad. Sometimes KK wants, you know, she's a nurturer by nature. Like, she'll check on. She'll call us to check on. And I'll be like, Dad, you don't ever check on me. She's like, I call your phone all the time, but it goes straight to voicemail. I was like, I got to work on that. But they're like that. And it's just, you're going to fall in love with your partner when you see how he is with the human being that you guys
so you didn't fall in love until you see me.
Again, in a different way.
Again, in a different way, my boy.
Nah, I'm joking.
I think I fell in love again with Calvin in the middle of the COVID. And I think I told him, I was just sitting there one day looking at him. I love watching him in his element. So when he's producing, he's like, I'm sorry, I know it sounds redundant. I'm like, no, I love watching you do your thing. Like, it's a turn on, but it's just like, oh, I love how talented he is. I love how he could create, because it's a field that I'm not into. Right. So he teaches me without knowing. And I just sat there and looked at him one day like, man, he's really my best friend. And just seeing how
their mind works
and I
just
love
expands.
And you're just space. Like, I'm with this person.
We like, yo,
she is so tired of me playing this.
She's throwing me off right now. Nah, because like, yo, like, you know, in producing, you playing the same thing over. So I'm like, yo, I know she's getting tired of this. No. But hey, like I said, she'll come in the basement, so it's like,
and sit with him.
You're gonna come down here, you're gonna listen to this over and over.
And I'm like, I guess, and I'm there, and it was just one beautiful thing. Thinking, I didn't know that COVID would bring us closer and push us towards marriage. So I felt like I look at him, I'm like, I love you.
COVID was funny that way. I feel like with a lot of couples, they either figured it out
or
they did not. Like, so, you know,
that's 100%.
Because you know, it was definitely a different thing. Like, there's
yo, it is not even like all positive. Like, we argue during the COVID.
Right, we argue, but I was like,
get out my face.
For us. Get out my face.
I don't feel like COVID was necessarily stressful for us as a
couple. For us, it was a little bit different because she mentioned that her grandparents died,
right?
But in our last episode, she went over it in a little bit more detail. They were in New York. Like, she also lived in Harlem, and she was in New York when the first wave hit. And unfortunately, her grandfather got it from the hospital, and it was it was super traumatic.
Yeah.
So she, after that, I brought her down to South Jersey, and a lot of the time was spent, just getting, healing a little bit.
Like, I came to, because the vibe was totally different. Like, in New York, there's just that energy of, like, that anxiety everywhere you go. It's just crowded. Came down here and it was like
super slow.
Cricket space,
green trees.
You can't go from New York to Voorhees.
Like, I can walk in the grass barefoot.
She's out here taking pictures of flowers.
Like, there's birds that sit next to me.
Like, I'm an island girl, and like, I like to be out in my nature and stuff like that every now and then. So it's like, it was just a totally different pace, and I needed the environment to like process everything that had happened, my emotions, how I was feeling, where it was at, and like I said last episode, I felt like a mess, an emotional mess, but it was really a process of me just healing and trying to get back to myself.
And this is where you needed to be.
Yeah.
Kind of to hit the reset button on your emotions.
That's
like,
basically what it was.
Y'all had like a long distance. I mean, New York is right there, but that's not
it was
every
long
day.
distance. You know, we were doing
everyday drive.
We were doing Airbnb.
But the thing is, I was only in New York for like 2 months before that. Well, when my grandfather passed away, it was 4 months by that time.
Right.
But prior to that, I was in Boston.
Oh.
So it was like even further.
Right.
And the first time that we got to reconnect like in person, I took time. Like my family was like, okay, just go, you know, do what you got to do.
That was after your grandmother died.
That was after my grandmother passed, and I came
Her
back
grandmother
from
died
Barbie.
the year before.
Right.
Okay.
So, and then we just linked up in March and spent like a weekend
And
together.
so after
and just hung
when
out.
we figured out that, you know, we were like, you know, figuring out if we were gonna how we were gonna reconnect.
Right.
Because I remember she was trying to tell me she's not trying to date.
I wasn't.
And then she was trying to tell me that you know, if she was gonna date, she was like,
They
I
all
need
say that.
I need a period of
Well, we
celibacy, and I was like, oh Lord.
Yeah, at that time. So to be clear, yes, I was doing a celibacy thing because I had already received that message. I was like, you need to be celibate for a year.
And there's nothing
And
wrong
prior
with
to that, the message that I got was, you need to cut your hair. And I didn't
She
cut
used
my
to
hair
have
until.
she used to have like long locks.
Yeah, my locks were really long, like down to my butt.
Yeah.
And it was like, you need to cut your hair. And I kept delaying it. And then in like 2018, I cut them to here. And then after that, I was like, okay, you're not listening. So the next year for my birthday, a year later, I cut them off. And then after that, I was like, okay, you're not listening still. You got to
Well,
be
I saw
celibate.
you before that.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, the first time we met up, she still had her locks.
Yeah.
And her grandma.
That's when it was doing a celibacy stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
she was trying to.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
failed.
No.
But
Clearly.
No. Failed that weekend.
That weekend, yes.
Yes, failed that weekend. But
Try to get.
I still was forced to do it
Yeah, you're
because
forced
I
to
had
do it.
to leave after
She had
that,
to
and I
leave for,
spent
like,
the
a
next
whole-
9 months in
Right.
So
Barbados.
like, see, you're not listening.
I was like, you're not
yeah,
listening.
that's
Okay.
what she took it as.
So y'all
Nah, I was
really
punished
planned
too.
for the celibacy?
No. We was
No.
not playing.
Relationship.
No. So she had been saying this because we had been long distance, and I was like, dang. But when we were gonna meet up, I booked like, and I'm gonna ask y'all a question about how y'all first date went. This was like our first real date. Like I had spent time with her in college. I got to know her in college. We had a lot of like late night talks. But this was like our first date.
Yeah.
So-
and prior to that, we had spent like all that time on the phone.
Yeah, we
and
spent all this time on the
talking and
phone
getting to
talking.
each
So this
other.
was our first like in-person date. Like we officially claimed it a date because everybody has different rules about what a date is.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Apparently. So I was like, this is a
coffees and
date.
I
So
guess.
we got an Airbnb, and I booked this nice spa. This is, what was it, 2018, right? So I booked this
Yeah.
nice like overnight spa thing. You can do like all the different
Yeah.
rooms and stay there
The
and all that
sauna,
because I knew she
This is
needed
the first
Send
date.
me
the first
that
date.
link.
Oh, he was
So
locked in.
I was locked in, right?
You are impressive, sir.
I know what that. I know what he was that day. Yeah.
And it wasn't celibacy.
I was not playing.
Ain't no celibacy tonight, baby girl.
I was not playing. So we had the and I knew she needed it though because like she had been having a rough time at that time. Like,
Yeah, and
That was beautiful.
Caregiver
Right.
still.
right.
And
She was
yeah.
there at the time. She was still taking care of her grandfather,
Right.
and he had just lost his partner. She was the primary caregiver, and they were like parental figures to her in a way, like So I knew she was feeling it. So I wanted to give her a reprieve from all the family stuff she was going through.
Yeah.
So that that's part of the reason I did that. But also I was trying to stunt a little bit. I was like,
Yeah.
look, come over here.
A lot
It's
of
fun.
it.
It's fun over here. We have fun over here.
That's what we do.
It
over
was
here.
it was
Never done it
thoughtful
before.
though. It was very thoughtful and appreciated.
Yeah, that joint was fun.
It worked.
Yeah.
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 It worked.
That was very thoughtful. That's impressive.
Yeah.
So it's funny because if you talk to anybody else who I ever talked to, dated, any of that stuff, they would be like, wow, you did all that? You ain't do none of that for me because I was notoriously
Oh man, that's me.
cheap.
No.
I'm not even going to say cheap because my thing is this, right? No, before I get into it, I want to ask y'all how y'all first date went and what'd y'all do?
Oh well, I was at my son's football practice, and after the practice, I was saying, "Yo, let's just meet up that was the first time we met.
That was the first time we met ever.
Yeah, we just met up at the and that's where I proposed to her too. We went back to where we met.
Yeah, 45th Street Pub.
Yeah,
that's
like
nice.
It wasn't even like a date. Like it was just like
circle it.
Like let me. It was one of them. Let me see you in person.
Let's just meet up in person. And he ended up meeting two of my friends, and it's so funny because two of my friends, like when they asked me, they're like, "Remember that guy you met one time?" And I was like, "I'm engaged to marry him." They were like, oh. They were so hyped to find out.
Yeah, so we was just talking. We sat at the bar. It wasn't
right.
I think did I pay? Oh yeah,
He paid. No, he paid. It was so funny because I have a rule, like I don't drink on a couple first dates. Like I don't drink any. And I don't know why me and Cal were like, he was like, can I get a double shot of Henny? I'm like, yeah, can I get a beer? And
we was at the bar.
We were at the bar and we had nachos and
it's
comfortable.
It was just a regular. It wasn't like a plan of I'm about to take you and sweep you off your feet.
And I didn't need to.
Yeah, because like you know when you meet somebody, you're like, yo, was actually friends and all that first. So you know, it's with social media, we only know each other off of Facebook. So it's like, let me see you. Like, she's not gonna let me come over. She's not gonna come to my house.
Right.
I'm like, yo, why'd you come to the crib?
Right.
That's the normal thing to do. But with her, I was like, yo, nah.
She's not gonna go for it.
Yeah, I was like, yo.
We're not going up. We don't. You might be the serial killer.
Right. He's like, can I pick you up?
No. Females, they
there's girls who really will. And so when I found out he was dating girls that would go to his house to drink, I'm like, what? I'm like, no.
He Grammy nominated. What you mean? They slide. What you mean? They slide.
What you doing later?
Take your Grammy nominated ass to 45th Street Pub, and I'll meet you there.
See, but I was just coming out of a long relationship. I was single for probably like 2 years. Mm-hmm. But like before that, I was in a relationship for like
since you were a kid.
Yeah. So
wow.
I had my 2 years to myself and
stalked me.
And I stopped with her. Yeah. I was like, yo, because I mean, I'm a relationship type person. So when I was single, it was like, all right, this is fun.
But it gets boring.
It's fun. The night times is fun.
Right.
The mornings is like, all right. Wow.
It's so funny because after I left my ex, me and my ex separated, like I told my girls, like, this year I'm gonna do me. And before Hot Girl Summer was a thing, I swore I was gonna have a hot girl year. And my girlfriend, she's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, girl, watch me. She's like, that's not even in your character. And I was like, girl, watch me. And then Calvin jumped in my DM, and now I'm pregnant. And now we had a baby, and now we're about to get married.
Right.
So, Mr.
Cut.
Mr. Hot Girl Summer, it's his fault. But our first date went well. Like I had a good time. It wasn't long. It was just getting to meet each other, and I think I just appreciated the authenticity of it. Like he didn't have to woo me or anything like that. Like he's wooed me.
I'm so glad you're saying this because there's a misconception that goes out on social media all the time where they talk about how much money.
This debate comes up on Twitter all the time.
All the time.
$200
like
date.
how much money should you spend on a date? And this is what I meant by saying I'm cheap. It's not that I'm cheap. It's that I want to get to know you as a person. And, you know, it's not about a cash transaction. I'm like, I don't know what you like. You don't know what I like. I don't even know how we would spend money. Like, yeah, we all need food, but that's not super expensive. Like, I want to go somewhere. Like, if I was on a date, I want to go somewhere we could interact and I can get to know you and talk to you and, you know, just somewhere that we all feel safe. You know, I was good for a nice walk in the park. That was, and that's free.
That's easy.
And
too.
He knows I love stuff like that. Like,
you gotta find somebody worth the walk with. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And like the people that want you to spend all this money, it's like, yo, they can't even explain why they want you to spend that much. And like you could spend, like I've been out with you and spent a lot of money on, but that didn't mean nothing. It didn't even do anything. It was just like, all right, it cost this much. Okay. What was the special thing about it? It was nothing special about it.
The T-bone steak we split. Sir.
Oh yeah, we was just in Puerto Rico that happened. But I didn't get no extra points for that.
Right.
Like, it was
it's my birthday. But one thing I'll say about Calvin that I appreciate, because he's learned to like my language. So Calvin knows, like, you take me to a Starbucks right now, like, I'm going to be like, yes, let me get 2 cookies.
Right.
But he knows like I love experiences.
Right.
So we have this thing for Valentine's Day. We don't exchange gifts. We do an experience together.
Right.
So that means we're going to go on a trip. We're going to do something. Like this year, his brother got married on Valentine's Day.
Nice.
So we spent this celebrating love. And then the next day left to Puerto Rico. Like,
right.
you know, things like that. Like we love it.
Did y'all go to Longwood Gardens recently? Like this year? You haven't been?
What's Longwood Gardens?
It's in PA. It's like a big garden. The kids would love it. Need some Benadryl though, because the apple cheese is real.
Longwood should be sponsoring for saying
Right. You get that sponsorship.
But yeah, if you like experiences, y'all would love it.
I love it. Like it's like a big walk in a garden, like a huge garden.
Yes.
I know on Christmas they have like the lights.
Yeah, we went for Christmas, and we went during the summer too.
We went during the summer, and I had planned on taking her during Christmas time, but then you know, we were trying to find something to do for my mom's birthday that the whole family, including Astro, Bianca's son, could do. And at the time, he was like 4 months.
If so much.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah.
It's like 4 months. So it's not many things he could do. So she was like, well, let's go to Longwood Gardens. I was like, dang, I wasn't trying to show her till Christmas time. But I'm so glad we went because we went during Christmas, but the displays because of COVID,
all the indoor stuff was
shut down.
Yeah.
So I was so salty, and it was funny because she was like, "It's all right, we'll go," and I was like, I got a little emotional.
He did
because I was like, "But you don't understand. This is the last time we'll ever be able to do this at Christmas time as just us. Next time, there's gonna be a baby, and I don't know how that's gonna change it. And of course, I can't wait to show my son that either. But it's gonna be a whole different experience at that point."
No, it is going to be a different experience, but you'll appreciate it more.
Yeah.
Your kid definitely will slow you down with stuff like that. It brings you closer. The kid will bring you closer with each other.
Right.
Like I said, I was 2 years single by myself, but I still had my two kids. So it was like hard because I had so much to do because I'm definitely by myself. But once I found a girlfriend, it was like, yo, now I don't have to be out. Right. I'm in the house. Like if I'm not working, I'm in the house. Like, but when you're single,
you gotta go
like,
out.
You feel like you gotta do this. You gotta go out Friday night, and I had 2 kids. Like it was hard.
It's hard to balance.
But believe it or not, like once you slow down and you find someone you love and all that going out and being out, that's over. Don't matter. Like, and now who gets more time? Your children and your girl. So, and you're more productive. So a child definitely brings you
closer. Yeah. It anchors you in a little bit more. Yeah. And then wait till you have you're one of the family members taking care of the baby and it's you and then us time is like where we going tonight.
Yeah, and I know your parents is really
that's your parents are like my parents.
Right. Her parents is like that too. I'm like, oh man, thank God, because some parents they I got 7 brothers.
Right.
So my mom, she's
tired.
She's done with that.
7.
Yeah, so I can't just drop.
Where do you fall in the age of that?
I'm the 3rd.
Okay.
So I got 2 older brothers and 5 little brothers.
Yeah, I remember seeing a picture of y'all. I think y'all was like at a pool or something. Y'all was like dunking on each other in a pool or some kind of picture on Facebook you had put. And I was like, dang, there's a lot of them.
Man. It's a blessing. That's why I be so humble. That's why I know how to move because I have all brothers and we're all close in age.
Right.
Like, my little brother, I'm 36. My little brother is 34. Right. My older brother is 38. So it's like, I know how to move. I know how people feel. I can just gauge with people easy. I know what's doing too much because they would do too much back in the day. So I know what I don't want to do. Right. Like, and I don't want to rub nobody the wrong way. So that really has a lot to do with the reason.
Yeah, that makes a lot
of
sense.
The way I move.
Yeah, I got a lot of. My family's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, big family. It's just you and Bianca as brothers and sisters.
I have an older brother.
Okay.
But he's much older, so he wasn't around as much.
Right.
And he was from one of my dad's previous relationships as well. Mm-hmm. But that's my guy. He actually texted me the other. He be texting me at random times like,
"What's up, bro?"
Yeah, he'd be like, "What's up, bro?" He's like, "Yo, you watching them? that show?"
I refuse.
I haven't started it. She's watching it a little bit.
How are you watching that?
Wait,
it was on Bianca's watching it. So it's been on while I was doing meal prep for him today, and I was just like, I cannot I don't know what the point necessarily of this is.
I heard there is no point. Like, it's like that throughout the whole series, and it's just like at the end they just survive. But I'm like, I can't watch
all
black trauma.
Black trauma.
Oh, that's what it's about?
And it's very, very traumatic.
Wait, what is it about?
I haven't seen it yet.
So it's basically this black family moves into East Compton, white neighborhood at the time. And then it's about their experiences, racial.
Is it back in the day or is it current?
Yeah, it's a bad. I think
So
it's
like they take you back to. So they're from. I don't remember if they're from the South or whatever, but there's an incident that happens, which I guess is common for the history of a lot of African American families. Like something happens, you got to jet and go up north or go somewhere else because of racial injustice or an experience. So relatable, but they show you
The graphics,
the trauma, right? They show you that, and I'm like, okay.
Is it based off a true story?
I
don't think it's based off a true
helping
story.
the story.
I'm not sure.
It could be parts of it, because what I hear is like even like just a lot of the murdering, the eye gouging and things like that. That they said there was like an infant that was murdered in there, and they show you, and it's just like, I'm like, this is why I don't watch Beloved or read the book Beloved. Like, and people be like, "Oh, but Beloved is such a good book." I'm like, that is black trauma. That's
there is a fine line between being informed and just
slap in the face.
Yeah, well, it's just too far. Like, like there's enough right now, right? Like of violence we see with black bodies
every day
that I don't even think we need to see all those. Like, it's important. So to me, right, it's important to stay informed and to know what's happening. And it's important to know the history of the brutality that this country did to black people and people of color, indigenous peoples. It's important to know about what colonization has caused. Right. But we don't have to see it in graphic detail to move forward. Right. And I think that there's become this thing in America where it's cool and it's like it's funded to make these movies and make these shows where they are just diving into this black trauma and black violence unnecessarily.
It's like they get to sit at home, eat their popcorn, watch it. Like, oh man,
watching.
It's not even just America. It's definitely like a Western, like a white Western thing.
But this is what I mean when I say America. I mean like Western civilization. When I say America, I'm also talking about who's funding these films, right? Like people come to Hollywood, people people come to Netflix or
it's not even just films. It's media too. Yeah, it's like you don't ever see if there's some kind of attack or some kind of devastation, natural disaster. You never see white bodies on TV. Right. You never see white death. You always see black and brown bodies laying in the street. You always see that. It's like, who is this? Who is this for?
Who's the audience? Because it's not us. We know what it looks like.
With us in elementary, we third grade, we're watching lynchings. And they taking us to the museums and all that. Right. Like looking back at it, it's like, they put it right in our face for us.
But it's like, scared. And I hate it, but I'm just like, we're the wrong audience. Stop showing it to us. We know what it looks like.
It's funny because I always say that the same things that, make white people racist and make them, not care about, black bodies and not care about our lives, that we have to yell Black Lives Matter. And the same thing that creates that culture. We digest the same stuff. We have a lot of those same issues and a lot of those same thoughts because we are seeing the same information. We're seeing the same news stories. We're saying the same data, the same the same movies that depict this violence against us. That we're seeing these same images, and a lot of us have issues with even within our own culture. Like we're scared of black people too. We're afraid of the violence in our communities as well. Until you free your mind, and you're able to look at what's really causing it
and what caused it and what trickled it down.
We have a lot of those same things embedded in us because that's the society that we live in. And I think there's got to be some kind of shift into, I'm all for black creators and I want us to tell our stories, and a lot of our stories will have, and there is an element of that because that is true. Right. That is part of the story of black people, you know, worldwide, whether it's the Caribbean, whether it's South America, you know, that's part of the story, and we have to tell that part, but we have to be careful how we tell it, and that can't be the only thing we tell.
Right. And it shouldn't have to. Like, I just feel like I remember, do you guys remember the movie The Last King of Scotland?
Yeah.
Like, I love, like, they had something like that. Like, that goes beyond slavery. Like, the King of Scotland, the last King of Scotland was a black man. Like, there's so many things.
Well, it's funny because like our stories always start with slavery,
and I hate that.
Like there's there's
if you go to the
thousands
African
of
American
years.
Museum, it doesn't even start there.
Right.
Like, I was listening to the podcast of the man who helped build and create the African American Museum in DC, and he said because they've always pushed this narrative that it started at slavery. And he was like, that's why I made the elevator a time capsule to start before slavery. That's why I show you the kings and queens. I show you King Mansa Musa. I show you every king and queen and teach you their history, and then teach you who sold who to whom and why they sold them into tribes. Like, people don't even know the history of Queen Nzinga and how she started. And she was a woman like for like 40 years running a country, and didn't allow colonizers into this area, in their area, to sell them to Westerners. Like, there's so many things that go into it.
Have you guys been there yet?
I went one time, me and my girlfriends, but you cannot see it in one day. I did not finish it. They have a whole expo for like hip hop artists. Like, they have Emmett Till's casket. That's where I started crying. No, I cried when I saw they have a whole room tributed to Trayvon Martin, and they have it right next to Emmett Till's casket.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet, because when I went, that wasn't there. They got Dilla's NPC in there though. It was crazy.
Yes, they do. Yes, they have a whole.
Oh, that's lit.
They have the original flag of Public Enemy when they started. They have sometimes they have it's seasonal. They have a whole floor dedicated to Biggie. If you walk in and they did like everything how he started, but you cannot see it in one day, but it was so monumental that seeing Trayvon Martin was like seeing Emmett Till for me. So I broke down crying.
Similar. Yeah, it's such a similar story.
It's harsh.
That was actually one of our early dates too. I took her there.
Yeah,
that was free.
And it's free.
That was smart.
But now they do it virtually,
right?
Yeah.
So now we could do it on.
But you know,
online.
Back to your original point, I think it's so important that because like you were saying, in third grade they start teaching about slavery, lynchings. Yeah, they tell you about, you know, and it's funny how they skip. Right, it was like there was slavery. Then there was Martin Luther King. He was, and then now black people are free. Like, they just skip.
And we helped you guys be free.
Hundreds of years.
They skip hundreds of years. They skip thousands of years before. And it would help, you know, it doesn't humanize black people. And I think that lack of knowledge of where we came from, who our people originally were, how slavery came to be, because they act like, you know, there's this Western mythology that what they were doing was helping. Like bringing civilization, but you don't understand that there was civilization. And matter of fact, there was black civilizations that helped form what white civilization was. But that history is, you know, lost to a lot.
Even the Pilgrims, Thanksgiving,
right? Yeah, yo, even when I heard that story as a kid, I'm like, so wait, these people gave y'all food, and where are they now? What happened to them?
You killed them all, and then you have somebody like years later, like as a president, who went and started killing them and called them the Trail of Tears.
The Trail of Tears, right?
And then you have the people who owned the slaves, raped them, and wouldn't allow them free after they birthed their babies on a Mount Rushmore, and what?
But the thing is, I think the generation now, like our children, they're going to see more of the positive things.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like right now we have social media, like we're more enlightened now.
Right.
Like we can research. It's not just an encyclopedia. I was listening to a podcast. I'm kind of stealing what they said because it made so much sense.
Right. No, go ahead. Do it. We do it all the time.
Yeah. Like they were saying like, yo, the encyclopedia, that's all we had was the encyclopedia back in the day. Right. So it was like what they taught us, that's all we got. But nowadays, you go right and look anything up, anything. And we're more enlightened. And I think it's going to be even more with our children.
Absolutely. It's crazy because our kids, they may see systemic racism in the way we see it, right? But a lot of glass ceilings are going to be shattered by the time they get into our level. My parents, even when my dad came to America, even though PR is still America, but came stateside, like he wasn't allowed to vote. Like my grandfather wasn't allowed to vote. So like for me to be first generation born here and being able to vote and, you know, just things like that. Like, you know, my parents were able to vote, but my dad came and he didn't speak English. Right. So how you're not going to know. And what people don't know is Puerto Ricans were not allowed to vote on the island. We don't vote. We don't vote for the president. We just fight in your wars. But we don't vote for the president.
It's true in Washington, D.C. as well, which is crazy.
Which is nuts. Isn't it the weirdest thing? Yeah. But ultimately, what we're happy about is that our kids are going to see the hard work that our ancestors and ourselves have put forward. You know, and they're pushing past it.
I think it's really important that we understand that social media, the internet, can be a tool for both positive or negative, right?
Unfortunately,
but there's so much potential for that, for them to see, you know, real truths and to learn actual histories. You have the whole world's information database at your fingertips, but it's important to use it that way, and not, you know, poison your mind with a whole bunch of, you know, but it's also difficult to navigate what's real and what's not now. And that's I think is going to be the biggest battle for the future, is how we teach people to
decipher. Critical thinking.
Critical thinking is going to be the biggest thing we got to learn. Do you have any more questions? Because, you know, we're pushing 2 hours here.
You know, I think that the conversation that we had covered the questions that I had, because I wanted to ask you guys about supporting each other, and we basically talked about that.
It was just a conversation.
It was a conversation. This is what I love. We just had the conversation and everything just flowed.
So I want to, you know, ask you guys, what else you guys got going on? What's coming out? Where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
Right now, we just, like I said, I'm starting to do more visuals as far as production. I'm trying to brand more. We're focused on Love Her right now, getting her content out, and that's about it. We working on getting more interviews and more guests. Maybe, you know, we could bring y'all on.
Love to
do this again.
And I'm gonna be hitting you up for some. I got a lot of questions.
we gonna have a Zoom meeting. But right now we're just, you know, Calvin's, you know, getting new work put out with Josh K and Fabulous. So we're still, you know, hopeful about
where can they find you? Give them your socials.
Go ahead, baby.
All right, you can follow me on Instagram at Critacal, Critacal, not critical. That's what everybody do. It's an A where the I is in the middle.
Right.
And you guys can find me on Instagram at _ love her. And make sure you click the link in the bio to see my latest episode on YouTube with the mayor of Willingboro, New Jersey.
Definitely check that out.
Check that out. Shout out to Hustle Sauce. I don't know where my boy Kevin's at. Kevin's Ryan's brother. He's making a hot sauce. And he's our unofficial first sponsor, so I'm always going to shout him out. Hustle Sauce. Shout out to Elitism.
Who is Bianca.com. Go check it out. Get that gear.
Okay.
What else we got?
Skyns.
Oh yeah, go scream. Shout out to Skyns. Our music is doing well. We're shooting another music video very soon.
Are we?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I told you.
She said, "Are we?"
I told everybody else. I got the venue. I talked to a choreographer, and I didn't tell you.
Tell the artist.
Oh my goodness.
I just show up and get the job done.
That's right.
I know that's right.
Wait, so she does what type dance hall?
So it's funny. So we started like that. My idea was I was gonna make like Afro house, not Afro beats, Afro house, like Black Coffee type stuff. And we made like a couple tracks like that, but then she started going through my beat library, like, I like this one, I like this one, and it started morphing into it, you know, went a little bit more R&B ish, a little bit more. But we're gonna get.
Yeah, there's some tracks that we started like just, you know, doing
we're gonna do a little bit
drafts
more
too.
Nice. And you write her.
She writes. No. So my rule in the studio was, you know, I just wanted to have fun with it. I don't want her to think too much. Just come up with your melodies, write it. You know, I'll make the beats. We'll lay it down and we'll figure it out. So she's been writing. You know, I knew she was a talented writer. When I met her, the first time I ever saw her, she was doing poetry at school, at college. I walked into it was like the first open mic night of the year. She was a sophomore. I was a freshman on campus. I walked in there. I was like, yo, who was that on stage? I was like, oh, because I was thinking it wasn't my first school to pick. Like I was supposed to go to another school playing basketball, so I went there and I was like, oh, this might not be that bad. Okay, and she was out there spitting the bars, and I told her after she walked off stage, I was like, I really enjoyed that. It was really good, and she was like, thanks, and then boop, that was it.
She's like, get out of here, Jock.
Yeah, she's get out of here. she didn't talk to me for a whole nother year. But yeah, I knew she could write, so I figured that she could just turn in a song. So like once I heard her singing a little bit, I was like, you could just sing it, and she's been killing it.
Nice.
So we're gonna try to expand the library. Skyns is like it's fun. And it's doing well.
Yeah.
We got we got close to like 25,000 streams on Spotify on our first project.
I love it.
I know that's light work for y'all.
No,
but as the indie artist doing everything, like that's a whole.
I seen the video you shot. I think you just posted like a week ago. That was very creative.
Right.
It was just looked like fun. Y'all was outside.
Yeah, we was outside. Yeah, that was the all right video. So the all right
video. That's at Longwood Gardens.
Yeah,
some of that
one
footage.
Of them Longwood. Yeah. So actually we weren't shooting a video. I was just shooting stuff.
Yeah, it looked like it was just fun, and you just put it together.
Yeah, I was just shooting stuff from where we was going in quarantine. Like I was just like wherever we went, I would bring my camera and I just shoot it.
Yeah.
And then I just compiled everything.
That's the best footage.
Yeah, I shot her singing, so you'll see her doing the lyrics. That was like the production part. Like,
yeah.
The rest of those scenes were just out and about, and I was like, "This will look cool. Let's do this."
Yeah.
And
it was
everybody
fun.
was sick of me doing it. Everybody, I'd be like, hold on. I gotta film something. Go walk over there.
They hate me when I bring my little Canon out.
Be like, hey, y'all.
I'm like, y'all don't understand. Y'all,
you gotta do it.
This has nothing to do with y'all.
Right. You gotta do it. I be making everybody. I be holding everybody up. I be like, all right, go stand over there. And I don't care if there's people. It's funny because I've been doing this so long. I used to care if there's people, but now I don't even care. I'm like, look, everybody, they can watch or whatever. I don't care anymore. But yeah, you gotta do it. Got to get that work in.
Absolutely.
And but yeah, we're doing the next video is gonna be fire because like I have it all. It's
worked out in the head.
It's gonna be special.
So,
but yeah, we got to talk on. We got a whole bunch of stuff. You know, we'd love to possibly be guests on your podcast. I'm finally finishing my first solo album. I did I put my first single out last year. But I didn't finish it. So
you didn't finish the project?
I didn't finish the album yet. So
I'm
getting back to because it was quarantine. I was like,
nobody's really putting out music right now. It's kind of scary to put out music right now. A lot of everybody can't drop right now. Like
it was weird, and that's how I felt last year. Which is I did a meditation project, which I switched my solo to a meditation album. Which actually connected us with the Oliver's. It was crazy how that worked. But that's why I didn't finish it because I was like, this just don't feel right doing regular music. Yeah. But that's why I want to get back into it now because I feel like by the time that's done,
it's opening up now.
The world will open up and people will be consuming music that way.
Yep.
But yeah, I want to thank you guys for coming. I appreciate I appreciate you guys taking the time and all
great
that.
Conversation.
This was fun. I think you guys were the perfect first guest. Being that you guys make music,
you're doing a
podcast. Y'all work together. It was great.
Yeah, that was great. And then we learned. We learned
for real. We're learning.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course.
Thank you. Thanks for
Be sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us for the next episode.
Yes, sir.
Skyns.
Skyns. We're out. Peace.
Skyns.